Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is story about what if Naruto has his parents sealed in him part 1. Before I start, please do support for more amazing content and comments for part 2. Do consider to subscribe my channel and share my video to your friends and check out the description as well. Let's start the video. Kanahigaku no Sato. The rain was pouring the night. The orphanage kicked him out. The night of the Kyubi festival, in the village hidden in the leaves. Naruto Uzumaki is 4 years old, and hated by almost every adult within the ninja village. He does not know why he is hated, for him hatred is as the sun in the sky, there, and why it is there is an irrelevant question. Tonight, he was kicked out of the orphanage, and told never to return. That happened about 4 hours ago, and it was the nicest activity to occur this night. The orphanage threw him out very close to sunset. Naruto wandered around, as the sun sank closer to the horizon. The people were different tonight than normal. When he studied their faces, the hatred was there as always, but most of the times before tonight it was coupled with indifference. Not this night. On this night, when Naruto considered the faces of the civilians of Konoha, something else was in their eyes. He did not know what to call it, but somewhere in the dark recesses of his mind, he knew that tonight, harm was coming his way. The Daystar disappeared to the other side of the planet, indifferent to what its disappearance would cause. The revelation that harm was on its way had lent wings to Naruto, as he raced for the Hokage Tower. He never made it. The journey from the orphanage to the most powerful places in the village was epic for his 4-year-old legs. He made it as far as the park that was a third of the way there, when a crowd numbering 14 surrounded the last Uzumaki in Konoha. Made up mostly of civilians, there were some ninja, all from civilian families, sprinkled into the mix, though none higher than Chunin. The rain was now coming down in sheets, and the lightning providing all the illumination there would be tonight. It began with the crowd closing in on the doomed little boy. They began to shove him, though that soon turned to punches, which knocked him to the ground. Soon they began taking turns kicking and stomping on him. The only thing Naruto could do was cover his head, close his eyes, and pray it would end soon, one way or another. Mindscape. Naruto's eyes open, blurry for a second. He is resting in what appeared to be liquid of some kind. He gazed up at the ceiling, that had pipes and valves intermittently. He sat up and looked around. The walls appeared to be concrete, with interlocking stone slabs. Naruto did not know where he was. No matter where he sat, he was relieved to be away from that mob. Naruto heard heavy breathing coming from down the corridor and debated with himself whether to follow the sound or not. He had just gotten out of a bad situation. He did not need to go looking for another one. Yet, whomever was making that sound, even if they were as bad as the mob, would at least know a way out of here. Uncertainly, Naruto traveled through the passageway. Out of the gloom, huge metallic columns came into view. They were obviously a part of some cage, but meant to retain something huge. In the center of the section of bars, a weird drawing on a metallic plate could be found. Naruto stood gazing at the drawing. He could not remember, but he has seen it somewhere before. There was a puff of air, like a small inhalation, then a deeper mouthful, followed by a long blowout. Naruto felt the gust of air stream past him, back down the hallway. From the gloom of the cage, a voice snapped out at him. "So, my container has come to speak with me, at last." Naruto scrambled back into the wall, well away from the cage. Naruto stood as far as he could get from the cage, but he still had to tilt his head to look up at the largest animal he in his 4 years of life has ever seen. That it was a fox was obvious. Plucking up his courage, "Who are you?" The fox considered the boy before it. He doesn't know where in his mind, since its imprisonment, the Kyubi no Kitsune has witnessed the animosity the village had toward its container. Confusing the container for the contained was a mark of ignorance, and condemning a kid like Naruto a form of cowardice. Kyubi really did not care about Naruto, except for the fact that if Naruto died, Kyubi would die as well. Good thing nobody outside the Hokage and the elders, when they were still in power, knew that, or the boy and I would be dead a long time ago. Thus, with a small expenditure of its own type of Bijuu chakra called Yoki, Kyubi no Kitsune would heal the wounds of its jailer. "I cannot tell you my name. I have been trapped here for so long. I have forgotten it." Naruto looked at the face of the fox but could not tell if the fox was lying or telling the truth. "How long was that?" Naruto asked. The giant's fox head drooped. "I've been trapped since your first Hokage, I believe." Naruto's eyes widened. Though he did not know much about the history of the village, he knew enough to know the Shodaime was old man Sarutobi-sensei, the third Hokage. Who was at least the oldest person in the village. "Wow, you're older than old man Sarutobi," Naruto yelled. "You've been here since then?" The fox's own eyes widened. "Has it been so long?" it whispered. Naruto looked upon the fox in sympathy. "How were you trapped down here in the first place?" Naruto asked. "It was a man with red eyes." Then my mind was cloudy. All my thoughts were muddled. The next thing I know, I'm here trapped in this cage, the fox said with a growl. Is there any way to open the cage and let you out, Kitsune-san? Naruto asked in resolution. Why would you want to know that, kid? The fox asked, a fleeting hope entering its voice. Naruto looked at Kyubi like he was looking at an idiot. Because I'm gonna free you, of course. Kyubi rose to its full height. Why would you do that for me? We have only just met, it asked, doubt in its voice. Naruto nodded. I'm not doing it out of the kindness of my heart, he said. I'm doing it because we can help each other out. You help me, I help you. The fox grunted. He's not as gullible as I thought. What do you want to let me out of this cage? It asked warily. I don't want anything, except a ride out of this village, Naruto declared. The fox was taken aback. So many times humans have only ever thought of it as a battery, demon, or a weapon. No one has ever asked it to help them escape. Well, death is a sort of escape, especially from the kind of life this kid has had. Deal, Kit, set me free, and you will escape your life in this kami-forsaken village. It extended a claw the size of a tree trunk through the bars of its cage. Naruto neared the cage, took the tip of the claw, and shook. Well, more like his arm shook, the claw did not budge. If Kyubi allowed as much, it would have bisected the kit. Now, how do I free you? Naruto looked up at the bars, inspecting them for weaknesses. Kyubi raised his claw up to the metallic plate, with the paper with the drawing on it. This is known as the 8 trigram seal. It is what keeps me locked away, it explained. Naruto nodded. You cannot live in a ninja village and not know what seals are. If I pull the seal off, it'll free you, Naruto asked for confirmation. Yes, the fox replied. Just reach over and peel it like a sticker, it said, eyeing the little boy intensely. And do not worry, Kit, the demon fox thought. As soon as you free me, I shall take revenge for both of us upon the village. I shall strike down with terrible vengeance and furious anger those who have sought to destroy us. When I am finished, not one stone in the village shall stand atop another. And I shall leave alive only those who treated you with respect. Naruto reached up and took hold of a corner. The seal flared bright then, flashing brightly, causing him to flinch back. 2 pairs of arms grabbed him and roughly pulled him away from the seal. He struggled valiantly, and the Kyubi roared in frustration at being so close to freedom, only to have it stolen away. Naruto looked at the 2 holding him. He believed it was another group coming to beat him again. Until he heard what they were saying to him, words he had heard before, but never directed at him. Not so fast, my son, said a rich, loving bass. Oh no you don't, baby boy, a clear, warm, feminine tenor added. Those words stopped his resistance immediately, as he looked and saw a man and woman holding him by the shoulders. He only recognized the man as his idol, the 4th Hokage, Namikaze Minato. For a second Naruto thought he was looking in a mirror, because the Namikaze looked quite a bit like him, except for the eye color, which were blue. He had spiky, blonde hair, and his face was without whisker marks. Minato also had jaw-length bangs framing either side of his face, only the shape of the face was different. He saw the face whenever he looked at Hokage Rock. His attire consisted of a standard Konoha uniform with 2 bands on both of his sleeves, a green flak jacket, blue forehead protector, and blue sandals. The 4th Hokage also wore a short-sleeved long white haori over his normal attire, closed in the front by a thin, orange rope. The haori was decorated by red flame-like motifs on the edges. Lord 4th Hokage, what are you doing here? Is that any way to speak to your dad, Naruto? The woman asked, a slight smile on her face, which brought Naruto's head whipping around to stare at the woman. It was there that he found the rest of his face, including his violet eyes still without birthmarks. She had a slender, but feminine build, fair skin, violet eyes, and tomato-red hair that reached her ankles, and shoulder-length strands that framed both sides of her face, and a black clip that parted her hair to the left. She wore a high-collared, sleeveless blouse under a long, loose-fitting dress with a wristband on her left wrist and standard shinobi sandals. Naruto's head kept swiveling between the 2 people holding him away from the cage. The 4th Hokage is my father? Yes, Naruto, and I'm your mother, Uzumaki Kushina, the woman answered. Now we do not have much time, so I will tell you the story of the 9-tailed fox, and the sacred duty we, as Jinchuriki, bear. Your father will tell you about the events of the night of your birth. That was where Naruto found out about his heritage, and who his parents were. The fox did not lie to him even once, it merely omitted certain parts that would have changed Naruto's opinion of Kyubi no Kitsune. They told him they were in his mindscape, and how it worked, including the time difference. The longer they talked to him, the weaker they became. What's happening to you, Mom? He looked from her to Minato. Dad? We are just chakra constructs, created by the real Minato before his death. The avatar of his dad explained, the chakra we were given is fading, we can't remain with you for much longer. No, Naruto yelled frantically, trying to hold them. I need you, your help, you can't come into my life like this and just leave, again. Naruto's pupils changed, becoming vertical slits, like a cat's or fox's, and an orange-reddish aura infused his body. He lashed out, arresting the disappearance of his parental avatars. Then behind them a blue fire came racing up from the passageways and captured them. The energies merged, becoming violet, and enshrouding them for several seconds. When they emerged, they were full and substantial, appearing even more solid than when they came out of the seal. They looked at each other and themselves, feeling their own bodies. Kushina groped and goosed herself. She even gave her own backside a smack. Their eyes were wide, and Naruto lay slumped to the floor, as whatever he had done took a lot out of him. Kushina looked from her son to her husband, the question in her eyes. Minato looked back in wonder. We appear to have been brought back to life, dear. Our son was somehow able to access his own chakra, and the Kyuubi's yoki got them to merge and infuse that energy with our own chakra. There must have been enough of our own chakra left to allow it to bring us back. Minato put 2 fingers on his wrist. We have a pulse. He brought his hand up to his face and exhaled, then stuck a finger in his mouth. We breathe, and our bodies are moist. We are alive here, as if reborn into a new world. They gazed in wonder at the boy they brought into the world, who had apparently just returned the favor. They would get a second chance to raise their son. What they did not understand was why he would need them. Naruto should be living the life of a hero within the village, which was what Minato intended when he sealed Kyuubi into his son. That was Minato's intention at least. However, Kushina knew some of the realities of being a Jinchuriki. Their son was out completely. Their only source of information was Kyuubi. Since Kushina was its container before her son, she decided to get some answers from the one other source in the room. It was also time to deal some judicious punishment for almost killing their son. Minato turned to his wife and nodded, before heading over to check on his son. As Kushina stalked ominously into Kyuubi's cell. The mindscape was their world now, and Naruto was its master. It was an interesting dynamic. As far as Minato knew, no other parent they knew could tell what their children were thinking. Of course, no other beings have ever been brought back to life or a semblance of it, at least no beings they personally knew. Meanwhile, at her husband's nod, Naruto's mother entered the cage. She looked up at it, while cracking her knuckles ominously. Now, Fuzzball, you are going to tell me about my son's life. Reality. Naruto lay moaning, as the crowd beat him and beat him. It was only the healing factor provided by Kyuubi and his own Uzumaki resiliency that kept him alive. The ANBU and Uchiha police force, Up Force, were seconds away. The Hokage had been watching the whole village when she noticed the disturbance in the park. She had been using the crystal ball jutsu and witnessed what was happening with disbelieving eyes. Her own people beating upon a small child, some were even ninja, who should know better. While the antipathy of the village toward its Jinchuriki was expected, this was a blatant attempt on Naruto's life. She had immediately dispatched a squad, 6 ninja, of ANBU, and someone else must have alerted the Up Force. Up Force was officially called the Konoha Military Police Department, but made up exclusively of one clan, the Uchiha. They were called by many names: Uchiha Police Force, Uchiha Police, UPF, but the most common name for them was Up Force. They enforced the laws of Konoha, protecting the village and citizens, civilian and ninja alike, from the criminals of the village. Ninja often handled criminals on their missions, and could have do the same here in Konoha, but while here in the village most shinobi and kunoichi preferred to let Up Force handle it. ANBU and UPF caught sight of each other, though not a requirement. Many Up Force ninja came from ANBU before fulfilling their clan duty, and thus knew how to work together. The two forces that ensured peace and security reigned in Konohagakure no Sato came in sight of the mob. Up Force moved to encircle the crowd from the north, ANBU deployed to the south. They were poised to strike when something happened. In the blink of an eye, a pair of chains shot from the battered, bloody, little boy, skewering 2 of his assailants in the neck. The Up Force and ANBU turned to see Naruto on his feet, eyes blazing in vengeance. Another pair of chains whipped around to wrap themselves around the necks of 2 chunin. The chains lifted the struggling ninja off the ground, wringing their necks like chickens, then began using their dead bodies as bludgeons. These chunin, while alive, weighed about 150 and 125 pounds. Naruto's chains were flinging them around like dolls. Naruto took out another 4 assailants while holding his makeshift weapons, then threw them into another pair, delivering a ballistic level of lethal force. The last 2, seeing that their victim was not as helpless as they had hoped, tried to run, only to run headlong into the 2 official security forces of the Leaf Village. They surrendered to the Konoha forces rather than face the wrath of a demon. Meanwhile, at Hokage Tower, the 5th Hokage had watched the whole thing. When it happened, 5th Hokage, Mikoto Uchiha, aka Devil Woman, because of the power of her katanjutsu and a certain implacable ruthlessness that counselors, clients, and the other Kage have come to respect, almost dropped the crystal ball. She remembered a similar technique, exactly 4 years ago, by Mikoto's best friend, Kushina Uzumaki Namikaze, just before she died. In a fugue state, the Hokage set the ball down, ANBU, on me, she ordered curtly, before stepping out of the window. Back at the scene, the rain finally stopped, the security forces of Konoha were securing the area, and Naruto was getting checked out by medic ninja. Naruto lay unmoving on the stretcher, except his chest heaving like a bellows. His body was exhausted, after expending so much chakra reviving his parents. The chains had retracted into his body, while not draining on his chakra were still physically draining upon his skin and bones body. Only 2 of his assailants had survived his retaliation, they were in custody, awaiting transport to the jail. How are you feeling, Naruto? His mother asked him within his mind. Still, tired mom, like I have been running all day instead of just a few hours, he replied. Running in fear and running for other reasons is different, son, his father supplied. Naruto nodded, as he listened to the revived Minato, not to mention, returning us to life, in a manner of speaking, and then using the Uzumaki bloodline limit, adamantine chains, to protect yourself. I think that would have exhausted me and your mother in our prime. Naruto's father continued explaining his thoughts. Kushina was nodding, adding her own observations. They may not use any chakra, but the chains still take a toll on physical endurance. They're the equivalent of swinging your fist for a punch. After recovering from the exhaustion in his mind, and after Kyuubi was punished for manipulating Naruto, they talked and taught Naruto how to control his mindscape. He altered the scape, to make it a more pleasant environment. He altered it to mimic the Konoha forest. It was the only landscape he knew, and formed his parents a home to their specifications. They learned that food produced in his mind was as nourishing to them as food in the outer world is to Naruto. In addition to Naruto's actual memory which he would develop, Minato and Kushina would record his day from waking to sleep and create an easily accessible archive. Minato and Kushina would share Naruto's senses, and act as a secondary memory archive. That would be their daily task, outside of training him. They would train him in their ways of the ninja. Kushina would train him in Uzumaki Kenjutsu, Taijutsu, Fuinjutsu, Kekkei Genkai, chakra control, and other traditions of Uzumaki. Minato would train him in Namikaze Taijutsu, Fuinjutsu, including the Haraishin, and help complete the Rasengan, and other Namikaze traditions. Both would teach him ninjutsu they knew, depending upon Naruto's nature affinity. They made 3 covenants, while talking to their son. They promised the training would be harsh and they would be tough on him, but it would benefit him. They get to see all his thoughts and memories. Naruto could not keep secrets from them, therefore they promised never to keep secrets from him. They promised to raise him with love, whether outside his mind or in. They were his parents and expected Naruto to listen to them. There was a disturbance near the edge of the park. Naruto turned to look, and there standing on the edge of the park was the Hokage. Kushina gasped, Koto-chan, is the Hokage of the village? Kushina remembered seeing her in some of Naruto's memories, but never paid attention to anything beyond how it pertained to her son. Yes, Naruto confirmed, I don't know when she became Hokage, but she has been making changes, he explained. Mikoto demoted the civil council to below the clan council. They are now only there to administer the non-ninja citizens. They are the bureaucracy that keeps Konoha running. They collect the taxes from civilian businesses, but no longer set them. Process applications for starting a business, and collect processing fees. Again, they do not set the fees. They run the day-to-day procedures that keep the village economy healthy and administer the civil court, for issues not of a criminal nature. They answer to the clan council, who enforce the Hokage's laws and decrees. The clan council also acts as a criminal court. The only civil matters they hear are those concerning ninja, mediate disputes between clans, and any other shinobi business, including the academy. They oversee the education of prospective young ninja. It is tough now to graduate, but the caliber of genin had been raised according to many ninja, and even some civilians. Minato was laughing his ass off. The civil council were a thorn in his side from the time he took office until his death. The civil council is essential to the health of the village, since they allowed ninja to be free to conduct ninja matters. Minato never thought of demotion. Naruto continued, that's not all the changes since your deaths. Old man, Danzo was caught with some kind of root, and killed for something called sedition. Sedition? Minato asked. Yeah, that's the word, sedition. Anyway, she said she couldn't trust them anymore, and had the elders retired, she's been looking for their replacements, ever since. So far only old man Sarutobi was choosed. So, Danzo was still running root right under my nose. Minato explained to Naruto what root was and why it was officially cancelled. How is it, you know so much about the village, you are only 4, his mother asked. Before tonight most people would pretend I wasn't there, and talk as if I wasn't. I remembered what they said, Naruto explained. Their entire conversation took place at the speed of thought. the Hokage still at the entrance to the park, was just starting over toward Naruto. As she neared him, Mikoto could not get over how frail he was, as if he had not eaten in some days, and the rags that passed for clothes on his thin frame. The orphanage she had placed him in was reputed to be the best in the leaf. She tried to stay of his condition through reports. Uchiha Mikoto had tears in her eyes when she looked at her godson. All civilian advocates, who were members of the civil council, were responsible for a specific district in Konoha, and the Hokage specifically tasked the advocate of the district, which contained the orphanage Naruto lived in, with making sure of his well-being. Mikoto received weekly reports that exclaimed the health and happiness of Uzumaki Namikaze Naruto. Apparently, she had been lied to by Advocate Oshiro. The orphanage where Naruto lived received a stipend from his parents' estate to take care of his needs. Up Force Lieutenant, she roared. Uchiho Shursui, 19, shunshin to her side. Yes, Hokage-sama? I want the administrator of Oak Leaf Children's Home in this park in 30 minutes, she commanded. That would give the civilian plenty of time to get here. At once, Hokage-sama, he shunshined away. Raven, she barked. A short ANBU ninja with a raven mask, 11, appeared next to her. Yes, Hokage-sama? Please, ask the leader of the Senju to come here, then go get Advocate Oshiro. I have some pointed questions for him. Have him wait outside my office. Ask Abiki to wait with him, she commanded. As you command, Hokage-sama, Raven replied. Mikoto moved to sit next to her godson. She could not look at him, feeling so guilty for failing her best friend. She read the statement Naruto gave the Up-Force and ANBU commanders but had questions of her own. Naruto, please tell me what happened tonight, from beginning to end. Therefore, he told her everything that happened outside of his head tonight. His eviction from the orphanage, his perception of the change of the citizens' reception of him. His attempt to make it to Hokage Tower, when the attack started. He told her how he defended himself from the attack with the chains. Those chains are what I want to talk about, Naruto. They remind me of... Of what, Koto-chan? Naruto asked, whispering for her ears only. The Hokage's eyes went wide, her mouth agape as she looked at him. He was staring straight ahead, only peeking up at her to see if she understood. Only 3 people have ever called me Koto-chan, and then, only as a code, when we couldn't communicate in the open, and of those 3, only 2 were yet living. The only others who knew of it were her teammates and their sensei. Mikoto looked up as an older kunoichi shunshined into the park. Tsunade of the Senju, member of the clan council, and administrator of the Konoha Shinobi Hospital, also the most knowledgeable physician of the elemental nations. Quickly suppressing her expression, excuse me, Naruto, Mikoto stood up, face expressionless. Making her way to her sensei, Mikoto Uchiha began addressing her mentor. Tsunade-chan, would you do me a favor, and give Naruto here a checkup? Tsunade nodded. Of course, Koto-chan, she answered in the same manner, remembering her team's mode of address, when open communication was impossible. It meant they needed to speak in private. Tsunade's eyebrow arched, using our team code to let me know she wanted to speak privately. She could order me to her office, which is the most secure facility in Hidden Leaf Village. That means it's team business, not village. Tsunade began channeling green, medical chakra, then passed it through Naruto's body. Her initial surprise at her student's mode of address was erased in shock at the condition of this little boy's body. When was the last time you ate something, son? It was rhetorical. Her chakra told her exactly how long ago he ate. She leaned forward and pulled Naruto into a hug. Then turned to a nearby UPF officer, pointing at her. You, go to Ichiraku's ramen stand and get a large bowl of miso. UPF can build a Senju estate. The UPF officer turned to the Hokage, who nodded her confirmation. Lady Uchiha drew close, eyes questioning the doctor. What can you tell me about his condition, sensei? Tsunade remained kneeling before Naruto, staring into his eyes. Naruto was loving all the attention. He rarely got any but negative. Other than the fact he hasn't eaten for 3 days, she said, looking up at Mikoto directly. He's very healthy, not even a bruise. We can thank his tenant for that, she said quietly. Mikoto turned to Naruto. I have failed you, Kushina-chan. She wrapped Naruto in her arms, and quietly allowed her tears to fall. I thought I was doing the right thing for you, Naruto. I have been lazy in my duty to you as my godson, Naruto. I thought my trust was well placed in those I detailed to take care of you. I was wrong. Mikoto sobbed into his chest, the ANBU and Up-Force ninja pointedly ignoring the leader's weak moment. It's okay, Hokage-sama, even a kid like me understands you have a whole village to care for. You don't have time to take care of me, Naruto said in forgiveness, returning her hug. The UPF officer returned shortly with his ramen, and set it before Naruto, whose nose twitched at the smell of food. He set to and devoured this food of the gods in minutes. He let out a contented sigh, and burped, which made him blush and said, "Excuse me, ladies," causing the women to smile. "Thank you for your consideration, Naruto," Mikoto said back. "We'll have to find you a better place to live. Once I'm done." She turned her head. As Uchiha Shursui entered the park, he indicated the person the Hokage wanted to see was behind, getting checked for weapons and other deadly implements. "Taking out the garbage," she hissed. Turning back to the head of the Senju clan, "Please conceal Naruto out of the way, while I attend to this, sensei," the Hokage ordered the clan head. Tsunade had been briefed on the reason Naruto was in the park. "It's a good thing I ain't the Hokage. I would just as soon kill the bitch as listen to her excuses." She took Naruto back behind a brick wall and sat him down next to her. They could not see what was going on, but they could hear everything. They listened as footsteps came timidly up the path. Inoue-kun, welcome, please have a seat." Another bout of shuffling later, and a different voice, one Naruto knew quite well. Thank you, Hokage-sama," the voice of a middle-aged woman replied. The voice sounded different than it normally would. To Naruto it was hesitant and soft. Usually when directed at him, it was either raised in anger, or it hissed with venom. "The word you're looking for, son, is meek," Minato's voice growled in his mind. Kushina was off in the back of his mind, ranting, which she had been doing, since hearing how emaciated Naruto's body was. She was using words Naruto should not be listening to. He could also hear Kyubi whimpering at the anger of his former host. "It's how bullies act around their betters, but the old bat better start covering her fat ass. I remember, Mikoto, she's my maternal cousin, and can see right through ass kissers." Even as a genin, she could see through any bullshit flung in her direction. Minato was not much better than his wife, after hearing how the village chose to honor one of their heroes, his son. He was just better at concealing his feelings than Naruto's mother, and was not as quick to forgive the current Hokage as his son. He was also wondering where Naruto's godfather, Jiraiya, was. If Mikoto could not look after Minato's son, then Minato's sensei should have. There was a long silence between the two women. "The reason I called you here tonight, a prominent citizen was attacked tonight, and I'm here to clean up the mess. I was in the district and decided to take your weekly report in person." Mikoto's voice was disarming. She was waiting to see what lies, if any, the old woman would try to tell her. "So, how is Naruto tonight? It's his birthday after all. Turns 4 today, did you know that?" "No, I did not know that. I've never put much stock in celebrating birthdays. No sense in accepting praise for doing nothing, but growing 1 year older. It coddles children if you do that," Inoue said, speaking down to the Hokage. This is where Naruto begins to rant in his mind. What a big liar. Just last week she threw a huge birthday for one of the older kids at the orphanage, who had only been there a little while. "I've lived there forever. She never throws me a party. All she ever does is yell at me when I am bad or ignore me. It's not fair, it's not fair," he continues to rant in his mind, as tears rolled down his face. "Really, I am a mother too, you know," Mikoto asked. "I have 2 boys, 11 and 4, one is already a ninja, and is considered the most powerful of his generation, the other is just starting his training, and already he is showing promise." Another silence fell between the two women. Then, "Besides, you were supposed to tell me about Naruto." "Naruto is doing fine, he was being taken care of the last I saw of him," her voice dripped with satisfaction, as if she had done her duty to the village. There was another pause, this one ominous. "Would you care to know the name of the prominent citizen attacked here tonight, Inoue-Q?" Mikoto asked. A short pause followed, where they assumed the orphanage manager just nodded her head. It was Uzumaki Namikaze Naruto, clan head of the Uzumaki and Namikaze clans. The Uzumaki, together with the Senju, and the Uchiha, they helped found the Hidden Leaf Village. He is the son of my predecessor, the Yondaime, Namikaze Minato and Uzumaki Kushina. Naruto is directly related to Tsunade of the Senju, and consequently Senju Hashirama, through his wife, Uzumaki Senjumido, and when Tsunade-sensei passes, because he is related to her via marriage, and we do not find another Senju, he will inherit the Senju clan. The only reason she did not take him in and raise him, herself, is because he has his own legacy, and they didn't want to distract him from it. Naruto was looking at the woman kneeling next to him, eyes wide as he looked at her to confirm what the Hokage was saying. Tsunade looked at him with a huge grin on her face, and nodded, put a finger to her lips to quiet his questions. "Why didn't you guys tell me about this?" Naruto asked his parental avatars. "We'll tell you as the secrets become relevant, Naruto. If we told you everything at once it would just overwhelm you," Minato explained. "That's right, we'll tell you all our secrets as you need them," his mother continued. "You need to trust us to tell you what you need to know, when you need to know it." "You're right, sorry Mom," he submitted, "sorry Dad." They mentally hugged him, making him feel warm. The pause now was like a canyon. Luckily, the attack on Naruto was thwarted, and all but 2 of his attackers were killed in the attack. They've been taken to torture and interrogation. It won't be long until we know every disloyal action they've ever performed, and who they performed them with, against our village. If Marino Ibiki is working tonight, they will tell us where their grandparents hide their money. The night air was pregnant with menace, but the manager kept quiet, not intimidated enough at the veiled threat leveled by the Hokage. If a veiled threat did not work, the Hokage decided to go for direct threats. Now that we know Naruto is not in your custody, the sound of Mikoto's voice shifted. You will tell me, who told you to put him in harm's way tonight, or Marino-san's treatments will seem like a pleasant dream, compared to what I will do to you. They heard a choking sound coming from over the wall. Mikoto had obviously grabbed Inoue by the throat. Ash. Inoue was trying to say a name. Mikoto loosened her hold, but did not let go. Oshiro, he said nobody would care, and we would be doing the village a favor by getting rid of the boy. She was blubbering by now. There was a crash to the dirt heard from behind the wall as the Hokage let go of the woman's throat. She coughed and inhaled rapidly. Then they heard a grunt of pain, then another, followed by 3 more in rapid succession. Tsunade and Naruto stood up just in time to see Uchiha Mikoto kicking the orphanage manager repeatedly. You make me sick, the Hokage shrieked. How many other children have you deemed not worth your time? They've been through enough trauma, with the loss of their parents, and you who is entrusted to protect and care for them until they can fend for themselves, deem their lives not worth protecting. By this time, Mikoto had begun to stomp Inoue in the face and gut. Mikoto was going in for more kicks when she felt a hand on her arm, looking around with fire in her eyes and a snarl on her face. It was Naruto looking at her with pleading eyes. You're too pretty to let this woman make you do ugly things, Koto-chan. The Hokage is supposed to seek justice, not reap vengeance, believe it. Mikoto closed her eyes and turned her face away from the woman groveling at her feet, as if she had just stepped in something that she wanted to wipe off her shoe. Up force, get this greedy pig of a whore out of my sight, keep her safe and alive until she can act as a witness at Oshiro's trial, she yelled. Then she raised a hand. She must be alive and able to speak to be a witness. She doesn't need to be ambulatory, she added with a smirk. Inu, a silver-haired ANBU captain, appeared beside her. Send a message to Ibiki. He should be in my office, and Advocate Oshiro should be with him. Tell Ibiki to take Oshiro into custody, and during their conversation, let Ibiki know that he has my permission to be as exotic as he wishes, as long as Oshiro is competent to stand trial. She closed her eyes and took a deep breath, before letting it out slowly, releasing her anger and contempt. Mikoto turned to Naruto, still clutching her arm. She took his hand in hers. Naruto, please accompany me. I will be taking you to your new place of residence. Tsunade-sensei, please come with us. I think something momentous has occurred and I want you to verify it with me. Home. 3 people walked along a lane, leading into a residential neighborhood. The houses were close together, many sharing walls with their neighbors. While the neighborhood was not as affluent as the districts around the Uchiha and Senju estates, it was still worlds better than the area around the orphanage. They came to a 5-meter-tall, by 90-meter-long stone wall, which was broken up in the middle by a 6-meter-tall, by 3-meter-wide gate. This section housed a huge, wooden gate. It was plain and nondescript, without any form of ornamentation. The wall itself was unadorned. It was whitewashed from top to bottom, with wood paneling, half the height of the wall. The wall and the gate section were topped with a pointed eave-style roof. Naruto's parents had grown quiet as they approached the gate. Naruto recognized it as the house he conjured for them earlier tonight, while in his mindscape. Stopping in front of the gate, the party of 3 gazed at the enormous gate before them. Now, Minato and Kushina began issuing instructions to him. Bite the pad of your thumb, son, his father said. Naruto did as he was instructed. Place your hand upon one of the doors, Minato continued. When he did, the doors glowed blue for a second or two, and when the light faded, the door was ajar. You may now come and go as you please, without biting your thumb again, Minato informed his son. Naruto may have been 4, but he was a precocious 4, perceptive, intuitive, and not a fool. This was your house, wasn't it, Mom and Dad? Yes, Naruto, this was where we lived as a couple, and where you would have grown up if we had lived, Kushina answered her son. Naruto opened the door the rest of the way, allowing the Hokage and the leader of the Senju to enter a 10 by 10 by 6 meter area, stone courtyard, which led to the front door, a sliding door made of metal, which had a small oval on the doorframe. The oval was made of chakra metal, according to his parents. He closed his eyes, calling up his chakra. They instructed him, and he channeled his chakra into the oval. The door unlatched and slid open, and the gate closed behind them. Now, you can enter and exit as you see fit, Naruto, his mother explained. The house now recognizes you as its owner and master. Any seals placed on the grounds will respond only to you. Welcome home, Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze, they chorused. When Mikoto thought of a place for Naruto, her first thought was to bring him here. If he proved unable to enter, she would have found an apartment for him elsewhere. Tsunade and Makoto looked at Naruto, as he moved through the house like he had lived here all his life. They shared a look of astonishment. They had no idea how, but he seemed to have access to Minato and Kushina's knowledge. Naruto, Makoto said, how do you know how to do all of this? You move around this house like you've lived here all your life, and that can't be true. No one has entered this house in 4 years. We've tried, but the true owners of this house were seal masters of the highest order. Naruto turned to look at the two women, and both his parents sigh in his mind. While I don't think it would be a good idea to let the public know your dead parents live in your mind, Kushina decided. I can think of no two people I've trusted more in my life than these two women, excepting your father, of course. Minato added, I feel the same, and add my sensei Jiraiya and student Kakashi Hatake into the mix. You two really trust them? Naruto asked his parental avatars. He felt their nodding heads and sighed in acquiescence. Okay, I will tell you, but only inside the house. Will you please tell your ANBU bodyguards to wait outside, Hokage-sama? They may stay in the yard, but may not enter the house, until I am done revealing to you and Lady Tsunade all that I am about to tell you. The Hokage summoned her ANBU detail, and relayed the same instructions to them that Naruto asked her to. Naruto showed the ladies in and looked around his new home. The foyer was sunken with clay tiles for flooring, and a shoe rack. There was also a crucifix nailed to the left wall, to bless those who entered. They took off their shoes. Naruto placed his in one of the racks, while the ladies left theirs neatly by the step, toes pointed in the direction of the door. Together, they explored the rest of the house. It was a 2-story dwelling. The entire ground floor had hardwood flooring, and was set in a rectangular configuration. A short hallway straight ahead led them to the living room, which had a comforting feel to Naruto. Above the mantel over the fireplace, a pair of frames held some sort of designs. The one on the left kind of reminded him of the sun, the one on the right was a spiral. The furniture consisted of a navy blue 3-piece sectional, a plush chair the same color, and a tan leather reclining chair. They were surrounding a coffee table made of dark wood with 2 drawers. Back at the entrance, they turned right, and went down a long hallway, at the end of which was a kitchen that had everything a kitchen needed, including a breakfast nook. Turning left took them to a dining room. A compact dining set filled the space with a streamlined table, surrounded by 4 ladder-backed chairs. There they found a sliding door, leading from the living room. Opposite the entrance to the living room, another sliding door led them into a 28 by 9 meter square room. There were more sliding doors, to the left and right, but directly ahead at the front of the room was a 2-sword display stand, and on the top rack was a tsurugi, with a double-edged, black blade, and a tsuba, that was a replica of the sun-like design in the living room, and a white, ivory handle, carved like a dragon. The bottom rack held the sword sheath that followed the design of the handle. Tatsuka no tsurugi, he heard his father breathe. I've never used it because I was never interested in kenjutsu, but the Namikaze taijutsu can be used with or without a weapon. The empty hand movements translate perfectly to the use of our family blade. I remember when you would practice your kata, how fast your hands would move was breathtaking. Minato, my love, Kushina added, I can't wait to try to combine the circular movements of Uzumaki taijutsu and kenjutsu with the speed of yours. Naruto listened to his parents as they discussed the fighting arts of their respective clans. Their conversation, occurring in his mind in less than a second, did not impinge upon his talks with the 2 women in his house. They returned to the living room. Naruto offered the Hokage and Tsunade-sensei a drink, please, his mother asked him. Mother, any food here must be toxic waste by now, he reminded her. Not to worry, son, the preservation seals we place on all our storage compartments should still be holding strong, Minato explained. Any food and drink should remain viable for another 10 years, regardless of sell-by dates. Would either of you ladies care for something to drink? Naruto asked his guests. Thinking the same as Naruto regarding food viability, they quickly but politely declined. We need to be getting back to our evenings, so please, let us get on with our discussion, Makoto requested, while they got comfortable on the sectional, facing each other. Naruto closed his eyes and formed his hand into a ram seal, and said Kasi Aika Asuru. The already strong privacy seals now became impregnable, and nobody outside knew it. You wanted to know how I knew so much about this house, and how I was able to use those chains to fight off my attackers tonight, right? Naruto guessed. Yes, Makoto replied, as well as how you knew to call me, Koto-chan, Tsunade gasped, to get my attention, and speak to me and any Team 7 members, privately. Tsunade spoke up at this. Naruto, how did you know to do that? Even if you were somehow able to see and read Team 7 mission reports, that way of saying Makoto's name is not in any of those reports, Tsunade explained. It was Team 7's covert way of communicating with each other, never was it an official form of communication. So, how did you know about it? Because my mother told me about it. When she saw you, he turned to the Hokage, while looking at you through my eyes, Naruto replied, then turned to the other women in the room to show the sincerity in his eyes. He could see they still did not believe him, so he gave more evidence. Uzumaki Kushina and Namikaze Minato were married in a private ceremony, officiated by the Lord of the Fire Nation himself, he said, turning back to Mikoto. You were her maid of honor, and since she had no family, all of Team 7 gave her away. How? The last Senja asked. Those records were classified by the daimyo himself. They were sealed because Kushina is the daimyo's niece, making me the daimyo's great-nephew by marriage, and a legitimate heir to his throne if none of his children can do it, or choose not to do so, Naruto finished. Again, how is this possible? Tsunade asked. The only other person to know is Hitomi Hyuga, the fourth team member of Team 7, and there is little chance the two of you have ever been in contact. The Hyuga blowhards would never allow her to meet with a lowly orphan. Naruto sighed and began the story. It started tonight, right after they began beating me. 3 days ago. Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze, 12 years old, sits in Saiza, in the middle of his family dojo. His eyes are closed, his mind is clear, calm, centered. Rising to his feet, the last member of 2 clans opens his eyes, and begins to move through the forms and kata he has learned for the past 8 years. He has slowly combined the circular movements, submissions, joint locks, and throws of Uzumaki style, with the powerful and fast as lightning punches, knife hands, spear hands, and clawed strikes and kicks of Namikaze style. The combined strengths of the styles allowed for a versatility of the style that few other styles could match. In the 8 years since coming to live here in his family estate, he has changed from a skin and bones whelp to a healthy youth. Naruto has adopted his father's name and begun to fulfill the family legacy. Though the civilians still showed a blatant enmity toward him, they were careful to keep their opinions to themselves. The business owners tried to starve him by denying him the right to shop in their places of business, and began to evict him from their stores and restaurants. All except Ichiraku Ramen, Hidori Dango, and Akamichi barbecue restaurants began to kick him out as soon as he would enter. This went on for about 9 months, until he was 5 when he enrolled in the Ninja Academy of Konoha Village. When that happened, the Hokage issued the Konoha Ninja Orphan Patronage Act, that decreed, as ninja are the pillars of defense and key players in Hidden Leaf economy, and orphans have no other means of supporting themselves, no business within Konoha Village may deny service to any ninja or orphan, regardless of rank. To include all shinobi and kunoichi, from genin to the Hokage, or orphan until the age of 16, without valid, substantive reason. Such reasoning must be proven to the ANBU or Konoha police officer, who have been given clear guidelines on what constitutes a valid, substantive reason. Prices are also now to be decided by the village's ruling council and based upon prices from villages of comparable size to Kanehigakure no Sato. That prevented them from evicting Naruto from their shops, and prevented them from marking up the prices, whenever he or another hated person entered their shops. Naruto supplemented what he bought from shops and stores by hunting in the forests around the village and cultivating his land. His property was quite substantial, the size of a modest farm. Naruto sectioned off an area for a vegetable garden, a goat pen, and built a coop. Naruto finished his forms, which were a nice warm-up. Now it was time to get busy with his training regimen. Yuke, Naruto yells while engaging his dojutsu, adopting a neutral stance. Mikoto was partially correct. Naruto's eyes are a mutant form of Sharingan, they call it the Akumigan. It had the eye of insight and the eye of hypnotism and had aspects of the Mangekyo Sharingan. The Sharingan is normally developed from intense emotions, and it does not matter what that emotion is. There have been some Uchiha who awakened their Sharingan eyes while in the throes of passion. Naruto awakened his eyes when during an attempt on his life, fear and pain, and the elation of finding out who his parents were, and they awakened. Naruto's eyes awakened fully matured, but his eyes seem to be a mutation of the Sharingan and another dojutsu. They appear to be from a dojutsu that acts very much like the Byakugan, but upon a more thorough examination by Tsunade and her student from the Hyuga, Hitomi Hyuga, they concluded that it was not the Hyuga bloodline. For one thing, the phenomenon when shut down did not cover the entire eyeball. Naruto's eyes returned to their normal blue color. When active, Naruto can see 360 degrees around himself at a radius of 90 meters, through almost any barrier, as well as illusions. Ironically, except into the Hyuga complex, which have specially designed seals on their walls that inhibit all dojutsu-based abilities, plus he can see the chakra coils, and create his own illusions that can affect the 5 senses. He can use genjutsu based on the normal and Mangekyo Sharingans, as well as other forms, and when he tried to use the standard academy clone, which he used to meet the minimum requirements for the academy. His parents taught him the shadow clone jutsu, but they discovered another phenomenon of his eyes. He can particleize his chakra, and when he went to make his Kage Bunshin, the particles of chakra became attracted to the chakra of the clone and altered it. They became as solid as the shadow clone, but far more substantial. He and his parents came to call them Akumabunshin, because they are as solid and substantial as Naruto's own body. They can take as much punishment as Naruto's own body, and when they dispel, get knocked out, or worse, everything they experience gets passed back to Naruto, including how they died. When they form, it is not masked with a puff of smoke. Naruto seems to liquefy and separate into various places at the same time. As quick as shadows move, then they form into his shape and become him. They have thoughts and minds of their own but are still extensions of Naruto's will. Luckily, when they dispel or die, there is no mess, they return to their liquid state and discorporate. Torai, see Naruto yells while also engaging his dojutsu, and dashes at his creator, delivering a sweep to the legs. Naruto jumps over the clone's leg, who continues his momentum, placing both palms on the ground, and bringing the opposite leg into a rising, circular back kick toward his creator's jaw. Naruto sidesteps behind the power of the kick, advancing a couple steps forward, to launch a short kick jab right into the face of his clone. The kick connects, but the clone uses the inertia from the attack to rise, and in doing so grabs the offending leg. See Naruto rises with the kicking leg, appending Naruto, who falls into a backward somersault ending on his feet. Grinning at his clone, Naruto yells, "Torai!" Naruto advances normally without rushing, until he is 2 meters from see Naruto, when he lunges into a double palm strike, taking his clone by surprise. He falls backward, but applying good yukimi, takes minimal damage. Naruto comes in to stomp his clone, who rolls to the right, into a kip up into a defensive stance. Naruto swings his left arm in a counterclockwise fashion, which see Naruto traps in an eagle claw around the wrist. Naruto smirked discreetly because the eagle claw was a feint. In a nanosecond, he folds in behind see Naruto, breaking his grip. Naruto picks up his clone, bringing him down on his knee, breaking see Naruto's spine, causing him to fade out of existence. The barrage of memories and experiences flood into Naruto's mind, showing him what mistakes he made, and he feels the shadowy twinge in his back. Naruto is kind of glad he gets the feeling of his deaths when his clones die. This allows him to reap some of the consequences of his decisions, because pain is the ultimate teacher. Mindscape. Inside his mind, Kushina, Minato, and the Kyuubi were watching Naruto's sparring session. His parents were proud of him. His progress in martial arts was impressive for someone of his age. He was more advanced in taijutsu than most of the other students in his academy class. Only 2 students were his peers when it came to fighting hand-to-hand: Sasuke Uchiha and Hinata Hyuga. All 3 of them, great friends from the beginning, had a friendly rivalry going on. Sasuke was better at kunai throwing and arm taijutsu. Hinata was the best at chakra control and taijutsu. Naruto, because of his 2 unique clan techniques, and 2 Kekkai Genkai, one of which, the adamantine chains, gives him excellent chakra control, despite his chakra reserves, was the best at ninjutsu, genjutsu, and endurance. Kushina spoke up, "That was very good, son. Ready for the next exercise?" Databane. "You bet, Mom," Naruto replied, voice brimming with confidence, but not arrogance. "Bring it on." Databeo. Minato chuckled, "Okay, boy, don't get cocky," he growled in half-serious admonishment. "Now make 3 clones." Reality. "Yes, Dad," Naruto responded, making the sign for clones again. Multi-demon avatar technique, Naruto shouted. There were 3 more puffs of smoke which cleared, revealing 3 more avatars of Naruto. These lookalikes did not wait, they knew why they were created. Randori, the Narutos bellowed. The 3 clones bum-rushed their creator, each going into their own separate attacks. Deciding it would be stupid to stand his ground, Naruto dodged, ducked, and deflected in and around all their attacks. The object was not to fight and destroy his attackers, although that was allowed. No, the purpose of Randori was to learn to be aware of multiple opponents, and to react accordingly, while keeping your strategy fluid. C1 went left to the flank of Naruto. C3 shuffled after its creator to keep the pressure up, while C2 stood back and saw, trying to come up with a plan of action. Naruto was aware of where his clones were. He knew how they thought because they essentially were him, and vice versa. The words, "overcome thyself," were taking on a literal meaning in this dojo. C3 moved in for a sweep at the same time C1 came in for a spinning back kick at his torso. They seemed to connect, when poof. C3's sweep connected a fraction of a second before C1's attack, but it was not Naruto it connected with because he substituted himself with C2. C2 was swept off his feet, but recovered enough to break fall, and roll along his back, gaining his feet. C2 was a good 2 meters from the other 2. Naruto capitalized by moving behind C1 and shoving him over so he fell on top of C3 still low from the sweep. They fell and tangled their limbs, while Naruto moved to attack C2. He came in fast, launching punches at C2's body and tiger claws at his face. C2 parried the punches and dodged the claws, trying to buy enough time for his partners to recover. The other two clones had recovered and were trying to use Naruto's distraction in the fight against C2 to ambush him from behind. Naruto was between his clones, and they struck. At the last second, Naruto jumped high into a backflip, and while in the air, C1 and 3 hit C2 hard enough to dispel him, giving all three of them his memories, and the pain of the hits. Minato was busy writing down the experiences of the clone, using clones of his own. Their creator landed behind them and struck ruthlessly before they could recover from their shock. They took 2 spear hands into the base of their spine, hard enough to fracture their spinal column. It was also enough to destroy them. Naruto was breathing hard and heavily, and rapidly, then he got the memories and another back spasm, sending him to the ground on one knee. The pain was not physically present, because Naruto had not been the one to receive the injuries. When he described this sensation to Tsunade and Hitomi, they told him it sounded like phantom limb syndrome. When amputees talk about feeling the sensation of their lost body parts, as if they were still attached to their bodies. Mindscape. Even Kyuubi was impressed with Naruto's vindictiveness, and said so, "Not bad, Kit, not bad." Many things had changed since Naruto was 4. The area of Naruto's mindscape housing the nine-tailed beast looked more like a forest of giant sequoias that dwarfed even the fox, with etchings of the seal in every tree. The chakra network represented as giant-sized canals with the tenketsu as substantial as gravity dams. Naruto's relationship with Kyuubi, who had gifted Naruto with his name, had become a true symbiotic relationship. Naruto and Kurama have begun to share perceptions, allowing for the fox to experience the world outside of his host, while Naruto's senses have increased to be equal in scope and acuity as any fox. Naruto has slightly pointed ears which allow him to hear a pin drop in another room. His vertical eyes, Nandojutsu eyes, give him excellent night vision, and while the whisker marks look like birthmarks, they are quite sensitive, about 5 times more so than human fingers. That, along with his ears, allows him to sense the difference in air pressure, and find obstacles even when he cannot see them. These 3 senses, coupled with a fox's keen sense of smell, combined to make Naruto feel as if he was at home at night, in the dark, or in low visibility, as he is in the daylight, or on a sunny day. Unlike most children, Naruto was never afraid of the dark and had an excellent sense of direction. As Naruto's mind grew and expanded, so did his mindscape, because now there was the village. A replica of the village of Konoha had sprung up around their house. Everything that was in the true Konoha, that Naruto knew about, and had been to, or perceived, was replicated in as close to fine detail as Naruto could manage. Which, with the Akumugen, plus his other senses, was pretty fucking detailed, down to the cellular level. The Uchiha compound, the Hyuga estate, every training ground and shop that Naruto had been to and could remember, the Konoha forest just outside the gates of the village, could be found in Naruto's mindscape. The replica of the Namikaze estate was where Minato and Kushina lived. They even trained here since old habits never die. It was also where they kept the archive of their son's days, as a secondary memory source. The most interesting fact was that space and time were unlimited within the mindscape. Space, time, and resources. "Thank you, Kurama," replied Naruto. "I concur," his mother agreed. "You displayed fluidity of mind and willingness to be flexible." "I agree, with your mom, and the fox," Minato supplied, "plus, as ninja, being sneaky and underhanded is part of the game, not to mention using your enemy's strengths and weaknesses against them are great tactics." "Thank you, Mom and Dad," Naruto replied. "You're welcome, sweetie," Kushina said back. Reality. "Now head outside and we'll finish your clan testing." "Yes, Mom," Naruto obeyed. Naruto walked out of the sliding glass door. He came to a circular stone floor with a combined version of the Uzumaki spiral and the Namikaze cyclone. This was the place where he trained in kunai and shuriken throwing, and where he trained in using the adamantine chains. Surrounding the circular practice area were a series of side-slinging catapults, about 12 total. Surrounding the catapult were a series of plum flower poles of different lengths. The higher Naruto was the least stable to pull. The heights ranged from 2 meters tall to 9. The catapults were angled up at various elevations from 90 degrees to straight up. Naruto hopped on a pole about 3.5 meters tall. There were timing seals placed upon the catapult's mechanical system designed to fire and reload based on the timing specified by the seal. They were loaded with clay discs about the size of a human heart. The object was to be able to take out as many targets as possible, while maneuvering along the poles using jumps and flips, while keeping one's balance on an unstable, narrow platform. To this date, Naruto has never gotten a 100% score. The highest he ever got was a 90%, Sasuke once got a 92%, and his brother, Itachi, once got a 98%. Minato was the only person to ever get 100%, this was also where Minato practiced the Hiraishin. Naruto got ready. The seals began their countdown as soon as Naruto stepped upon the plum-flower pole, and Naruto got 95% that day. The next day, it was a Sunday, no school, and no training for today. It was an Uzumaki tradition. It was the Uzumaki day of rest. No work or training was allowed on Sundays, except missions, emergencies, and work necessary to day-to-day living, i.e., cooking, cleaning, and groceries. There were some things he could not grow in the garden, and chicken could get boring to eat no matter what recipe one used if that was all he ate. Naruto had just returned from the grocery store, and was putting everything away, when the doorbell sounded. Quickly creating a demon avatar to answer the door, Naruto continued to work at putting stasis seals on the perishable items when his clone faded, letting him know the Hokage and her husband were in the living room. Creating another clone to complete the task at hand. Naruto took a pitcher of sweet, iced tea out of the fridge and poured 3 glasses. He walked in carrying the drinks and placed them on the coffee table. "Good afternoon to you both, Uchiha-sans," Naruto asked genially. "How are you both this fine day?" "Naruto," Fugaku fumed. "What have I told you to call me when not in public?" he asked in an irate voice. Naruto smiled. "Sorry, cousin," he chuckled. "That's better," Fugaku grinned back. "Are you ready for graduation next week, kid?" "Databayo, cousin," Naruto replied, puffing his chest out proudly. "I got 95% on the range yesterday. My techniques from taijutsu were spot on, as is my strategic thinking, and I've been going over my academics to make sure I do well on the written portion." As Naruto was speaking, Mikoto sat fidgeting with her clothes as if she were uncomfortable with being there. She seemed to keep her hands folded in her lap, and did not seem inclined to look up. "Something's wrong, son," Kushina announced. "Koto-chan never looks like that unless she's feeling guilty about something." Databane. Naruto spoke about his accomplishments, but instead of being happy for him, Fugaku's face also began to take on a sickly cast. His smile never left his face, but it took on a painful vibrancy. "I agree with your mother, Naruto," Minato confirmed. "That's the look Fugaku always got when he had to go tell the family of a downed UP Force officer that their loved ones were never coming home." Naruto looked around his cousin to look at his godmother's uncertain countenance, seeing her expression. "Is something the matter, Koto-chan?" Naruto asked, looking her in the eye. Mikoto was startled out of her reverie when he addressed her with that name. "Yes, Naruto, something has come up and, well, the village needs to ask you a favor." Naruto's eyes widened. "Okay, if it's within my power, I will do my best to aid the village," he affirmed. "That's what we ninja are being trained for, right?" That statement only served to worsen her guilt. "I need you to fail your graduation exam." 3 days later at Hokage's office. The Godame Hokage was using the crystal ball remote viewing technique to keep a close watch on today's proceedings. Over the years, the clan council noticed that the most successful ninja were the ones with skills and knowledge outside the ninja arts. So, to remain strong, students not only learned the ways of the ninja, but they also got an in-depth education in language and culture, math, and science, as well as history and social studies. The Hokage did not want unlettered thugs filling her ranks. She wanted true ninja, and true ninja were never ignorant. The tradition went as far back as the Shodai and Madara Uchiha, as one of the few things they agreed upon up and to their legendary battle at the Valley of the End. Of course, back before the restructuring of the government, there were a few who thought general education was of little importance to a ninja. Some, like Shiramura Danzo, thought ninjas should be little more than living, breathing weapons, no matter how many records proved his assertion to be wrong. Mikoto always kept a close eye on the school, especially since her children and godson began attending. She made sure that the teachers employed at the academy were not only powerful shinobi, but well educated too. However, today one teacher had her full attention. He was the child of a civilian family, all of which were killed on the day the Kyuubi attacked the village. He was in the same class as her son and godson. He never showed any blatant enmity towards Naruto. There were just one too many mistakes that could have cost Naruto points. Mikoto had gone back through this teacher's mission records, including reports done by him, his sensei, and even his teammates. There was never even a hint of these kinds of mistakes and oversights in any of the records the Hokage examined. However, it was not the mistakes that were arousing the suspicions in the Uchiha woman, it was the fact that they had stopped. The last attempted sabotage had occurred 3 months ago. She may not want to bring her suspicions to the clan council yet, but her instincts told her Mizuki's mistakes were not mistakes. They were deliberate attempts to sabotage the son of her best friends. Mikoto Uchiha had listened to her instincts as a kunoichi for the leaf, and as an inspector during her up-force days, too many times when they had saved her life, not to heed them when they flared. Instincts, however, were not enough to make accusations against the shinobi under her command. It would undermine the respect she had earned from her ninja as Hokage. That did not mean the 5th Hokage could not launch an investigation. She could not do anything by herself. She is the Hokage after all, her presence would be noticed. Thus, she turned to two people she trusted most, her eldest and her husband. She briefed them on her suspicions when she got home to the Uchiha estate. She asked Fugaku to follow Mizuki when he was in the village, and ordered Itachi to surveil Mizuki when he left the village. 2 months ago, after explaining her suspicions to her husband and son. "I know, it's a lot to ask, since I'm only going on my instincts," she admitted to her family, "and what I've observed through my remote viewing, and while my instincts have been wrong in the past." Mikoto stopped. Looking down, she understood how lame that sounded. Fugaku came to his wife's rescue. "Your instincts may have been wrong before, Koi, that's true," he conceded, "but you've also never let your instincts rule you. When you were still on the force, it is true you let your instincts guide you, but you also never let them cloud your judgment, nor stop you from seeking the truth, which was why you were always one of our best inspectors." Mikoto felt gratitude for her husband's assessment of her investigative skills. "Thank you, Fugaku-koi," she said, leaning into him intimately. Itachi's sweat dropped at the affectionate display. Even shinobi prodigies get uncomfortable when their parents get romantic in front of them. Ahem, their oldest child discreetly coughed, making them step away a little quickly. Fugaku straightened up, grunting, and adjusting his clothes incrementally. Mikoto had a small smile on her lips. "Yep, still got it," she thought proudly to herself. "You're my Hokage," Itachi said to his mother. "You don't need to give me explanations if you want to send me on a mission. Just enough details so that I can have a clear mission objective." They had found quite a bit about Mizuki's comings and goings. He liked to spend time at bars, frequented by civilians. He rarely went to ninja-frequented bars. While not incriminating, all citizens had a right to their preferences. After all, it was just unusual. While in the bars, he rarely drank more than necessary, until a certain drink, a Shirley Temple, was served to him, where he would tilt it back and drink it all in one chug. Then, standing up on shaky legs, he walked upstairs to one of the rooms, and remained there the rest of the night. After checking, they discovered the rooms he frequented were the rooms of several ladies and gentlemen of the night. They discovered that Mizuki would frequent their rooms on their nights off. The room was paid for using funds from Mizuki's own accounts, so no money trail leading to anywhere besides the man in question. The pattern of his visits stayed the same for 5 weeks straight. Then 2 weeks ago, he stopped going to bars and began hanging out around Hokage Tower. The academy instructor began chatting with many of the kunoichi, who worked in and around the seat of power for the village. Mizuki may have been flirting with them, and one of the few times Fugaku or Itachi could read his lips via the Sharingan and a telescope, that seemed to be what he was doing. That very well could be the case, except his eyes were often taking in their surroundings, of which he seemed to be romancing only kunoichi working in, or near, one particularly sensitive area, the Kage Technique Vault. It held the most powerful and most dangerous ninjutsu in the village's arsenal, including the Forbidden Scroll. While all of this was highly suspicious, it was still not enough to bring him in for questioning. It was, however, enough for the Hokage to launch a full investigation, bringing in a couple more people. Shursui Uchiha, lead inspector for the Konoha Police Department, and a master of genjutsu, and his girlfriend, Kurenai Yuhi, captain of the ANBU Black Ops, clandestine division, and genjutsu mistress, call sign, Cardinal. They were both briefed on the Hokage's suspicions, and the information gathered up to that point. Kurenai befriended the Chunin kunoichi Mizuki spoke with, who never divulged any sensitive information to Mizuki. They were smitten with him, but they were Leaf Ninja first, women second. Kurenai did discover something interesting about Mizuki. He was obsessed with only 2 things, gaining power and destroying Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze. 3 days ago, Mikoto had gone to the Uzumaki Namikaze estate, with her husband who saw Naruto as a cousin. There, the couple did what they had to do to protect the village. Mikoto's thoughts returned to the present. She gazed through the crystal ball into the schoolyard as Naruto arrived with her youngest and the heir to the Hyuga. Konoha Ninja Academy schoolyard. Sasuke and Hinata walked through the gate of the schoolyard like they had every morning for the past 6 years. Today was different. This could be the last time they did so as students, because today they would be taking their graduation exams. By this time next week, they should be placed in their genin teams and begin their ninja careers. The other difference was a subtle difference, but noticeable all the same, for anybody willing to notice. That difference concerned their best friend, Naruto. While he acted visibly the same, the way he seemed today was slightly subdued. He acted the same as he did any other day, highly energetic, with a side of goofball thrown in the mix. All of that was there, but there was an air of something else, it felt like, resolve. When they met up on the way to school, the ever-present smile was on his lips, but his eyes had a look that said something was happening. It reminded them of his prankster look. This was the same stare, but with an edge. Walking through the school, they made their way to their classroom. Inside were the rest of their classmates, most seemed to be from the major clans of the village. Aside from Sasuke, Naruto, and Hinata, there was Shino Aburame, Shikamaru Nara, Choji Akamichi, Kiba Inuzuka with Akamaru, Ino Yamanaka, and Sakura Haruno. The rest of the class just did not seem to stand out, so they were largely ignored. As soon as Sasuke entered the room, all three of them were assaulted by a high-frequency sound technique, Sasuke Kyun. Came twin cyclones of feminine energy, one cherry blonde, one platinum blonde. They swooped in to hug their crush, all but knocking Naruto and Hinata against the wall. The entire class sweat dropped at the actions of the Kunoichi fangirls. Shino's insects momentarily heightened their buzzing at the suddenly loud classroom. Shikamaru raised his head from sleeping, then lowered it back down, muttering, "What a drag, I was dreaming of clouds," under his breath. Kiba, the dead last, and Akamaru, also sleeping soundly until the banshees let loose their discordant song, jolted back in their seat and both just growled. Choji nearly choked on a chip. At that moment, the two teachers in charge of this class, Iruka and Mizuki, entered the classroom. "All right, class, settle down, and get to your seats," Iruka-sensei yelled, "and show some maturity, you just might graduate today." "That's right, you might," Mizuki-sensei said, casting a short look in Naruto's direction, "but even if you do graduate, the path of the ninja is a perilous life, there will be days when you do not know who your enemies are." Mizuki pointedly looked at Naruto. Being from the same village is but a small guarantee for allies, otherwise there would be no Nukenin in the world. Only one person in the room noticed Mizuki's looks that day, Naruto, who could feel the eyes boring into his skull. The instructors of the class handed out the academic tests, which are equivalent to the 12th grade education at the high school that civilians attend, on the other side of the village. Naruto had just completed the written part, which he aced. In a little while he, and the rest of his class, would go outside to conduct the taijutsu trial. Divided by gender, they would have a tournament. If a student made it to the semifinals, they got an 80, which was minimum to pass. The finals got them a 90. Winning their gender got you a 99. To get a 100, they had to last a 3-minute bout with one of your Chunin instructors. This was optional, but rarely turned down. After lunch, staying outside, the class would go to the confidence course to evaluate their throwing skill. The confidence course is an obstacle course to measure the student's capacity to throw kunai and shuriken. The minimum time to complete was 5 minutes. This was not hope and throw, each target was a human equivalent, with the vital points clearly shown. The targets would move into various positions, and then retract. The student had to throw and hit the target before it was gone. Hitting any of the vital areas was worth a full point, merely hitting the target was worth half a point, missing entirely, nothing. Each student received 10 kunai and 10 shuriken. The minimum to pass was 14 of 20, in 5 minutes. The record was 20 in 3 minutes, held by Itachi and I. Then, it was back inside for the 3 standard academy ninjutsu: transformation, substitution, and clone. These are pass-fail ninjutsu, not point-based. The students had to pass each part of the exam. A failure in any part would fail the student for the entire exam. Each student got 3 chances to pass. If they failed all 3 chances, they were disenrolled from the program. Later that day, Naruto and Sasuke stepped into the ring, grinning from ear to ear. They were the last of the student matches. They had a 90. Hinata received a 100 after holding her own against Iruka. Whomever won this match won for the boys and had the choice of fighting Mizuki. They listened with half an ear while Iruka-sensei reminded them of the rules and the time limit. "Ready?" he asked. Naruto and Sasuke formed the ram seal and shouted in unison, "Kai," removing their gravity and pressure seals. Taking a deep breath, Naruto and Sasuke stood in a ready stance, either defensive nor offensive, ready, and gave a slight nod to their sensei. "Hajime," Iruka-sensei screamed. Sasuke disappears to all students, though their sensei and the Ishinin standing by to render medical aid when injuries occurred could follow his movements. Then suddenly, everybody hears a whistling noise. Looking up, they see him descending, with an axe kick at Naruto. It lands, leaving a small crater where Naruto once stood. Spinning above the crater, Naruto jump spins, aiming a kick at Sasuke's head, who sidesteps out of range, or so he thinks. Naruto lands and crouch, continued his spin, and caught Sasuke with a sweep. Sasuke feels himself beginning to take a fall, stretches his arms, and cartwheels to the side. Naruto, still crouching, attacks with a sweeping arm, his fingers in a dragon's claw, aiming for Sasuke's knee with every intention of crushing it. Sasuke turns into the earth dragon palm, raising his shin to take the brunt of the attack. Robbing it of its power by intercepting it, before the attack could build up inertia, and using one of the densest bones within the body, made even harder by kicking a stone edifice hundreds of times a day, before and after school, did not hurt either. It was still painful, but it was not harmful. Naruto trapped Sasuke's leg, and lifted, dumping him on his back. Accepting the fall, Uchiha rolled with it, and somersaulted backward, regaining his feet almost immediately. Sasuke launched a front kick at Naruto's gut, which Naruto allowed, grabbing Sasuke's leg, holding it in place, then hooked his feet out from under him. Sasuke turned the hook into a backflip kick that caught Naruto in the chin, knocking him on his butt. Naruto rolled with the fall to reduce the damage, while adding force of his own to backspring to his feet. This time, Naruto vanished, coming to Sasuke's right side, who sent a back fist at Naruto. Naruto, accepting the direction of the strike, caught Sasuke's arm in an unusual hold. He only used the index, middle, and thumb, the eagle claw, cupping Sasuke's wrist joint. The other hand clutched Sasuke's elbow joint from above, using all 5 fingers, and the tiger's claw would have crushed a lesser person's bones, but Sasuke had hardened more than just his leg bones. Naruto applied the appropriate force, turning the trap into a joint lock, effectively gaining control of Sasuke's body. The fingers of both hands were piercing into a nerve bundle that caused Sasuke's entire arm to go numb, but the maneuver was not over. In a fraction of a second, Naruto moved to finish his technique. Arresting tornado, Naruto shouted. Naruto, accepting the force, and adding some of his own, pulled Sasuke off balance, meeting Naruto's leg below Sasuke's center of gravity, causing him to flip over the leg, which would not have hurt him if Naruto let go of Sasuke's arm, which Naruto did not. The arm in Naruto's hands remained as unmoving as a mountain, the rest of Sasuke did not. There was an audible crack, and Sasuke screamed in agony. The maneuver dislocated the radius and the ulna from the humerus, and disassembled the wrist bones. Sasuke could not continue and forfeited the rest of the match. Mikoto, Fugaku, Itachi, Shursui, Kurenai, and Hiruzen hissed in sympathy as they watched the test from the Hokage's office. Everyone clutched their arm as if they were the one receiving the catastrophic injury. The medic ninja were there, stabilizing Sasuke's arm. Nobody seemed too worried about Sasuke's injury, not even Sasuke. It was painful, no doubt about that, but it was far from a career-ending injury. Since Tsunade Senju became head of the hospital, the staff at the hospital and all medical ninja have become the best in the elementals. Injuries like Sasuke's could be mended in a matter of minutes, and have no effect on his performance later. Naruto was allowed a few minutes to recuperate from the match, before Iruka-sensei called him, and Mizuki-sensei, into the arena. "Are you two ready to face each other?" Iruka asked his student and colleague. Mizuki's smile looked inviting, but carried an undercurrent of menace. "Yeah, let's see what you got, Naruto-san." Naruto looked up at his sensei, then waved his hand to halt the activities. "As much as I want to throw down with my honored sensei," Naruto said, bowing deeply, "I'm afraid I must decline." Databeo. This announcement took everybody by surprise. Nobody had ever turned down a chance to earn that one extra point. There were shocked expressions from nearly every person present. Mizuki's eye was twitching, and he was barely able to keep a sneer from his face. "I realize it's unusual for a student," Naruto continued, "but I have to think of this test as a mission, and the objective of this mission is to pass the test and graduate, not get a 100 in the taijutsu portion." Mizuki grinned. "You know, that's the kind of logic a true ninja should possess," he said with an overly indulgent smile. "That's a commendable attitude to have, Naruto." Iruka was as stunned as all of them, his eyes as wide as dinner plates, shook his head, coming back to the present. "Yes, that's right, that's a good way to look at this test." Mizuki was a little slower to respond. "I agree, this examination should be viewed as your first mission," he said, glancing at Iruka, but then returned to staring at the Jinchuriki of the Nine Tails. Naruto's eyes stayed on Iruka, only glancing at Mizuki briefly, but he could feel Mizuki's eyes boring into his skull. "Right," Iruka said, breaking the stalemate, "let's head to lunch so you all can recuperate before the rest of the exam." After lunch at Ichiraku's ramen stand. The rest of the exams were uneventful and were standard across the board. Sasuke got 100% for the confidence course. In 3 minutes and 5 seconds, Naruto took second place for it. After which, they all went to take the ninjutsu exam. One by one, all the ninja in training went in and completed their tests. Finally, it was time for Naruto to complete his tests. He entered the classroom bowing to Iruka-sensei and Mizuki-sensei, who returned it while staying seated. "Are you ready, Naruto?" Iruka asked. Naruto popped tall, shoulders straight, chest out. "Oh yeah, sensei, I'm gonna ace this portion," Databeo, Naruto exclaimed. Both Chunin teachers chuckled to themselves. "That's good, Naruto, keep that positive attitude. It'll make taking you down that much more satisfying," one of them thought. Without warning, Iruka threw a baseball right at Naruto's face. It struck him, then a puff of smoke later. A chair was in Naruto's place. "Excellent use of the things in your environment, Naruto," Iruka-sensei praised. "Now make 3 clones of any type," he ordered. Naruto made the cross seal, and poof, out of the smoke stood 3 perfect replicas of the demon brat. All 3 bowed before another poof dispelled them all. "Very good, Naruto," Mizuki acknowledged. Okay, last technique, remember you have to do all three to pass, understand? Yes, sensei, Naruto replied, I understand perfectly. Good, now transform into the Hokage. There was another poof, and what emerged only looked like the Hokage because the color of the hair and skin were her shades. Other than that, things were different. Let's just say certain womanly assets were emphasized more than they should be. The hourglass figure traveled from her chest down to her hips. Let's just say she was the classic bombshell. Mikoto Uchiha was watching the test from her crystal ball, watched the transformation with her husband, son, nephew, his girlfriend, the elder Sarutobi. Mikoto blushed until she was redder than the Sharingan. Fugaka's bloody nose burst like a fire hose, launching him to the other side of the room. Itachi and Shursui began to feel the sweat drop as they watched their mother/aunt in a sexier body type. Kurenai was outraged at the objectification of women. The screams of outrage, lust, and disgust would have been heard all over the village if the Hokage's security seals were not activated. Sarutobi was on the floor with his own nosebleed, and thank Kami-sama, Tsunade was working at the hospital today, or Naruto would be dead right now. Back in the testing room, both teachers were picking themselves up after their own nosebleeds. Naruto looked down at himself and eeped, before his face went pale. I don't know what went wrong, I was going for the Hokage as I thought of her. Databeo. Naruto looked down ashamed of his performance. May I try one more time, sensei? I swear I'll get it right this time. I'm sorry, Naruto, Iruka replied, but everybody else was able to do a proper transformation the first time round, and since there is no proper way to find out how accurate you are, we're going to have to fail you for this exam. Come on, Iruka, Mizuki pleaded, he performed so well on every other part of the exam, surely we can make an exception, just this once. Iruka just shook his head sadly. No, Mizuki, Iruka replied, there are no exceptions to this exam. Everybody who passes this exam has been able to perform these techniques with only a minimal amount of aid. Hell, last year one student used soldier pills to give him the proper chakra boost to perform them. He was born with deformed chakra coils. Somewhere on a stealth training mission, Rock Lee sneezed and gave away his position. If we didn't make an exception for him, how can we for someone else, without any handicaps? Mizuki nodded and looked at Naruto. I'm so sorry, Naruto, he said quietly, but you fail this examination. Later. Naruto sat straddling the old swing, tied to the tree across from the entrance to the school. Most parents had come and gone from the school with their children, some to celebrate their new ninja, many to console or berate the failures. Naruto had not even the luxury of disappointing his parents, because they knew he was not supposed to pass the test today. His transition from civilian to ninja had already occurred. The success or failure of his first mission was in Mizuki's hands now. 3 days ago, Uzumaki Namake's estate. I need you to fail your graduation exam, the Hokage requested. Naruto grinned and was about to laugh thinking she was joking, but she was not kidding, she was serious. What, why? He had a look of betrayal. Was she like everybody else? Was it some political bullshit she had to bow to? Son, Minato broke into his thoughts. The Hokage would never ask something like this, unless there was a reason, so please listen to what she says with an open mind. Naruto listened to his father, but was on the fence, until his mother spoke up. I agree with your dad, Naruto. I was looking at Mikoto-chan's face before she asked. This was tearing her up. She wouldn't be asking this if there wasn't a very good reason, Kushina added urgently, before continuing with a growl. At least there better be or I'll kick her ass myself. Naruto looked down at the floor, then at the woman and man he considered his parents in all but blood. After all these years, Naruto's ability to read the intent in people's faces has not waned, it has merely grown stronger, and more nuanced, to the point where very few could con him if he could see their faces. He read the guilt and anxiety on their faces. They would give anything to not have to ask this of him but were outvoted, by necessity. Please tell me why, godmother, Naruto implored. Will you please fortify the house against eavesdropping, Naruto? Mikoto asked her godson. Naruto closed his eyes and formed his hand into a ram's seal, and said Kasseika Suru. The already strong privacy seals now became impregnable. After studying the seal around the Hyuga compound he added them to the house's defenses, and nobody outside knew it. Okay, this house is now proof against any known eavesdropping technique. Even my eyes couldn't see into or out of this domain. Databeo. So please tell me why you want me to fail the ninja exam? Mikoto and Fugaka tell Naruto about her suspicions, and the circumstantial evidence regarding Mizuki. How they believe they could dangle Naruto out like bait to see who takes a bite. The reason why we want you to fail the exam, Naruto, Mikoto concluded, bait needs to be vulnerable, and what better way to be vulnerable than for you to fail the exam? Naruto contemplated his Hokage's eyes, while taking counsel with his parents, and even Kyubi, who as a predator could not agree more with Mikoto's thoughts on prey and bait. After the conference with his tenants, Naruto shared his thoughts on the subject. It'll be tricky, Koto-chan, Naruto supplied. I have shown off many of my abilities in the past. I am the best in taijutsu and genjutsu in the class, second best in kunai/shuriken jutsu. Databao. If I do this, it would have to be a skill I have not shown off in the past, Naruto added, as his parents leafed through his archives, to discover an aspect of his skills he has not shown to anybody. There. His parents shouted, pointing their fingers at transformation. I have it, ma'am, transformation technique, during the ninjutsu portion of the exam. The Uchiha couple looked at each other and thought, it wouldn't be unheard of for a student to excel in everything else, only to fall short on even one of the standard techniques, Fugaku mentioned. True, but I am surprised Naruto has never displayed his transformation abilities, since most of the pranksters in the past have used it at one time or another to pull off their misdeeds, Mikoto said, looking pointedly in Naruto's eyes. In his mind, Minato's sweat dropped, and Kushina turned her head and giggled quietly. Naruto scoffed, and added, amateurs, if you have to resort to transforming to get away, then you're not doing it right, he exclaimed. Half the fun of pranking is the thrill of the chase when you're caught. Databao. The two adults in the room, and the two in his head, were looking at him with a raised eyebrow. Anyway, the other reason I never used it was because it's a clan-based technique, the Shinhenge. The wide eyes of the Hokage said she recognized the name of his technique. I was planning to unveil it at the test, to wow the teachers. Databao. So you'll do it, Naruto? Mikoto asked, dismissing her momentary surprise. You'll fail the test? Naruto thought it over some more. Yes, Mikoto-chan, he said, nodding. I will fail the exam at school. Oh, thank you, Naruto, she said, bounding over to hug him and kiss him on the cheek. Naruto had a goofy grin on his face when she let go. Mikoto was a beautiful woman after all, and Naruto was at that age when he will begin discovering women. They have been there all along, of course, he just never took the time to notice. Of course, Hokage, Naruto added, I am a loyal son of the village, after all. Databao. However, that does not mean I will do it for free. Loyalty is one thing, but if you get something for nothing, you may begin to take it for granted. The happy Hokage nodded her head in agreement. Sure, Naruto, I'll do anything within reason, in repayment for this service. Do you remember when I said I'd failed the ninjutsu portion of the exam at school? He asked. Mikoto Uchiha nodded, and Naruto continued, that doesn't mean there cannot be an examination on the portion. I will be intentionally failing. Databao. What are you saying, Naruto? Fugaku asked. I'm saying, I want to take the ninjutsu test here tonight, and upon completion of the mission, have those scores substituted for the ones I get at the academy, Naruto answered. Mikoto thought it over. That's not a bad idea, she concluded. It'll mean you're already a leaf ninja, and you'll get paid for going on A-ranked mission, which is good for your record. She looked at the young man with a baleful gaze. 2 questions. 1. You won't be issued a headband nor have official ninja status until after the mission is completed. Will that be okay with you? Naruto just nodded. I didn't become a ninja for the headband, and only partially for the status. Databao. Okay. 2. For it to be valid, 2 clan heads have to agree on the results. Are you sure you can perform the technique to their satisfaction? Nearly all of them have higher standards than the academy instructors, she said, indicating her husband. Yes, Hokage-sama, I do believe I have what it takes, Databao, then he declared. Which other clan head could you get, one that you trust enough to bring into the conspiracy, on short notice? Mikoto thought some more. The only 2 elders that are clan heads, Sensei and Sarutobi. She looked at her husband apologetically. I think they can be objective, and evaluate him fairly. I think if we do it, we may end up giving him credit just because we're grateful. 2 hours later. It took no time at all for the Hokage to summon 2 of the 3 elders in her advisory council to the Uzumaki Namikaze estate. Hiruzen, clan head of the Sarutobi, former Sandaime Hokage, was known as the god of shinobi, and the professor, because he was headmaster for the ninja academy. Hiruzen arrived last. Naruto answered the door, and greeted him with, Hey, old man, Naruto said, with a gleam in his eye, ready to learn something new, tonight? Sarutobi answered, with a gleam of his own, I believe, I'll answer that to the true Naruto, thank you. The avatar's mouth hung open. How did you know, Gigi-san? I thought my demon clones were. His mouth hung open. You didn't know until I confirmed it, did you, Sarutobi-sama? Hiruzen chuckled and walked past the young man. Maybe. Naruto lowered his head in defeat. Anyway, everybody is in the dojo. The Hokage will brief you on why you're here, and thank you for coming on such short notice. The clone closed the door, locking and bolting it before dispelling, immediately letting his creator know what happened. Down the hall, after stopping to remove his footwear, Hiruzen entered the dojo of the Uzumaki Namikaze clan, bowing to pay respect to the dojo itself, if not to the nearly extinct Uzumaki. There, he found the current Hokage, Mikoto Uchiha, with her husband, head of the Uchiha clan, Fugaku, chief of the Konoha police force. Beside him was one of Sarutobi's own students, Tsunade, head of the Senju clan, and administrator of the hospital. Mikoto spoke up when he entered. Hiruzen Dano, thank you for coming on such short notice, however necessity dictates haste in certain situations. Think nothing of it, Hokage Dano, Sarutobi answered urbanely. Being a former Hokage made him, technically equal in rank to the current Hokage, even if he was officially below her, and thus, when not in formal settings, could address her as an equal. As former Hokage, I am well aware of the power of necessity. He bowed in respect as he spoke. He turned to his former student. How are you doing tonight, Tsunade-chan? Tsunade smiled warmly at her sensei. I am doing well, then politely asked, how about you, Hiruzen-sensei? Quite well, actually, Hiruzen replied with a smile of affection for her, before turning to Fugaku. Well, it seems the ghosts of the founders are all present tonight. He turned back to the Hokage. Will you please fill me in on the reason why we are here, Hokage Dano? Yes, Mikoto began. Well, for starters, I am having some doubts about one of the teachers at the Ninja Academy. Having nothing to go on, save my investigative instincts, I asked my husband, and my son Itachi to surveil this person to see if my instincts were accurate or unfounded. Hiruzen nodded, approving of the way this Hokage chose to exercise her power. Too many Kage of the 5 great nations, particularly the Yondaime Mizukage, would have felt suspicion was enough and ordered the suspect's arrest or torture. What were the dividends of your surveillance, Hokage Dano? Not enough for suspicion to lead to accusation, but enough to warrant an official, discreet investigation of said individual. So in addition to those I have mentioned above, she answered. The third, I'd brought in 2 additional people, my nephew and chief inspector of EPF, Shursui, and his girlfriend, recently promoted, Jonin, Kurenai Yuhi, both well known for their genjutsu prowess. She proceeded to tell him everything they discovered, about Mizuki, including his obsession with power and recognition, and the destruction of Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze. We are not certain which is more important to him, power and glory, or his hatred of Naruto. More specifically, the Kyubi no Kitsune, since we know that his entire family was killed in the attack 12 years ago. Sarutobi nodded sadly. I can understand his hatred, though I do not agree with it. Quite, Tsunade agreed, but that doesn't explain what Sensei and I are doing here, Hokage-sama. I was coming to that, Tsunade-sensei, Mikoto said. We have decided to dangle some bait, and see what swims to the surface. To that end, Fugaku and I came to Naruto tonight and made a request. She stopped for a second, the guilt still eating at her conscience. We asked him to fail his graduation exam next week. There was silence as she said that. Tsunade and Hiruzen had shocked expressions. While failing the exam was not the end of the world, since Naruto would have 2 more chances, it was still a lot to ask even for the Hokage. What did he say, Koto-chan? Tsunade asked in a clipped tone. Mikoto winced at the use of her code name as a rebuke. She cannot deny that she deserved it. She was not feeling like a good Hokage right now. She sighed. Fortunately, he agreed, and figured out the perfect place to fail so it would not look suspicious, the ninjutsu portion. Hiruzen, impressed with his surrogate grandson's humility and cunning, commented, that is commendable, but I still failed to see the reason for summoning us here. Mikoto smiled in agreement. I am coming to that, Sandaime Dano. She paused, taking a deep breath. He was willing to help us, but there was a price. Naruto wants to take the ninjutsu portion here tonight and have the results of tonight's test transferred to the official test after the mission is over. Sarutobi and Senju eyebrows were buried in the hair, which was a great feat for Hiruzen with his receding hairline. Then understanding dawned, and they began to laugh. He is his mother's son, Tsunade added, looking at Mikoto for confirmation, who barely nodded to confirm her thoughts on who came up with the idea. Hiruzen smiled. I see elements of Minato in it as well. That's right, and to make sure we were not just passing him out of gratitude, Fugaku began, we decided to call in 2 unbiased testers. Mikoto nodded in agreement with her husband. Too true. I mean, I've allowed for the possibility that I could be completely wrong about Mizuki, or he may not take the bait. That's why I've kept the investigation as quiet as possible. Not even the clan council are aware of our investigation. Good, Hiruzen said. It has been quite some time since I have conducted the elementary ninjutsu exam. Then looking at his student, and with a bow asks, shall we get started, my dear? It shouldn't take long. We must only endure 3 techniques, yet I wish to be as formal as possible. Tsunade nodded. I agree, sensei. It would be disrespectful to Naruto to treat it like a joke, she said, looking around. She spotted the raised section where Tatsuka no Tsurugi normally rested, but was now on an altar, flush against the wall. Let's kneel in front with the altar behind us, and have Naruto enter. Come forward, and present himself to us." The Hokage and her husband exited to the living room. When they were ready, they sent the signal for Naruto, sitting at his dining room table, to enter. He reached the area in front of the two clan heads, who were kneeling on pillows on the dais. They indicated Naruto to kneel in Saiza, which he did and bowed forward, until his forehead touched the floor. After raising his head, the testers began to speak. "Uzumaki Namake-san, we will tell you when, and you will perform the 3 standard academy ninjutsu, understand?" Hiruzen instructed. Naruto replied, "Hi, Sarutobi-sama, and Senju-sama." "Okay, think fast," the old man yelled, throwing a blunt kunai at him. There was a poof of smoke, and Tsunade caught the kunai, because she was suddenly where Naruto was kneeling, who in turn was standing next to Sarutobi. Tsunade laughed. "How did you do that? I did not feel you grab me," she asked, more curious than angry. "I did not grab you, Senju-sama, I grabbed your cushion, you just happened to be sitting on it." "Databeo. You're too light, don't you ever eat anything?" Naruto asked. "I was going for Sarutobi-sama, but he was able to block me, somehow." Next to him, Naruto could hear Hiruzen trying to stifle a chuckle. "That was pretty good, Naruto-san, you were fast enough to select a target, have it countered, and then select another in time to complete the technique," Sarutobi replied, qualifying his remarks. "You pass, with distinction." "I concur," Tsunade said in admiration, clearly impressed by Naruto's ability to think on his feet. Returning to their original positions, he obviously passed substitution. "Do a transformation," she ordered. Instead of a puff of smoke, Naruto's body seemed to liquefy, before it flowed into the shape of a gray wolf. He was anatomically perfect, from the tip of the snout to the length of the tail. Even Sarutobi had a nostalgic smile on his face. "It has been quite a while since I have seen the Uzumaki transformation technique, Naruto. Do you perchance know its origin?" Naruto was nodding before answering. "It is another drawback for the massive Uzumaki chakra coils. Before me, most Uzumaki could not produce illusions, from genjutsu to clones, and that includes transformation. Databeo. The yang could never balance properly with the yin. We call these true transformations. We can become any creature we are familiar with. It requires the same amount of chakra as my Akuma no Bunshin, which I will show you later. It doesn't use hand signs, but you must know everything about your subject." Tsunade spoke up. "Just from a medical standpoint, how deep does the change go?" Naruto was confused for a minute, before understanding dawned. "Quite deep. My mind is still human. Everything down to the cellular level is whatever creature I become. I can even change gender. Databeo. I even have a menstrual cycle when I'm a female, yet only in my true form can I reproduce." Sarutobi broke in. "How does it work, Naruto-san?" he asked, back in professor mode. Naruto thought, then supplied, "Well, for me to change into a non-human, I studied and learned as much as I could about said animal, starting with the library, then I volunteered at the Inuzuka Veterinary Clinic, to learn their anatomy and behavior. Finally, I put together everything I learned about said creature in my mind by visualizing it. Even after all that, there is still some trial and error, before you get it down properly. Birds are the most complicated creatures I have tried to become, all those fine bones and feather textures that are necessary for flight in the tail alone. Don't get me started on the wings." Naruto realized he was talking too much, and noticed that they were gaping at him, which made him self-conscious. "What, something wrong?" Sarutobi cleared his throat. No, Naruto-san, just a lot to take in, that's all." "Let's proceed, shall we?" Tsunade said. "Naruto, make at least 3 clones of any type." He nodded, made signs, and thought, "Tajrakuma no Bunshin, 3 demon clones coalesce into existence," and bowed together. "How did we do, Databeo?" they asked in chorus. "Excellent, you did it without speaking out loud, which most ninja never figure out," the old man grinned, "and you performed all 3 ninjutsu, flawlessly, but with distinction and innovation. So, after careful consideration, we've concluded," Tsunade said with a smile, "you pass this portion of the graduation exam." Naruto crowed, out loud, "Hurrah, Databeo!" he said, jumping for joy. They looked at him as he celebrated his victory, before bringing him back down to earth. "Remember, Naruto-kun," the third Hokage reminded him, "you must still pass the other portions of the exam as they come. There is nothing even the Hokage can do to waive those portions." "Hi, I understand perfectly," Naruto said, sobering slightly. "I still have a mission to accomplish. This was just the confidence booster I needed. Now that I did, the rest should be a cinch." Databeo. Back at the schoolyard, after the official exam, the Hokage had come without her hat and robes, which meant she was not the Hokage, but a mother now. She hugged her son with a squeal of delight, and gave Naruto a sympathy hug, which was a little tighter than normal. Naruto did not know if she was mad over the transformation technique, or distressed over sending him into this mission alone. Even if he did not need to use it, he had added the smoke screen to hide the actual transformation. Hinata's family had sent an escort from the branch family to bring her home. Therefore, Naruto found himself alone on the old rope swing in front of the school. It was not a complete act. He was truly feeling dejected. When the time came for team selection, there would be one person short. That could cause the teams to be unbalanced, which could cost Sasuke or Hinata their lives. "I am so sorry, Naruto," said a voice behind him. Naruto, screaming like a little girl, leapt off the swing and into a defensive position. There, standing behind him was none other than Mizuki, who laughed like he had just pulled the ultimate prank. Naruto gave him a dirty look. "Mizuki-sensei, don't do that to me, it almost gave me a heart attack," he admonished. "My apologies, Naruto, I wasn't trying to sneak up on you, you were just so out of it you didn't hear me approach," Mizuki replied gently. Naruto's expression was now sullen. "Yeah, maybe that's true, I just don't know what I'm gonna do with my life now." As he spoke, his tone went from sullen to miserable. "What are you talking about, Naruto?" Mizuki asked curiously. "You have 2 more chances to take the test." Naruto's eyes widened with realization, then returned to disappointment. "You're right, Mizuki-sensei," he conceded, "but my best friends are going on without me, there is no way we will be on the same team now." Mizuki smiled knowingly. "You're best friends with Sasuke Uchiha and Hinata Hyuga, correct?" "Yes," Naruto admitted. Mizuki continued in a lecturing tone, "Then there was very little chance, you would have ended up on the same team anyway." He continued after getting the bewildered look from Naruto, "If you'd passed, you 3 would have ended up being ranked in the top 3 together. No Hokage has ever put the top 3 on the same team. To do so would cause said teams to become unbalanced. Normally, the dead last, in this case Kiba, is put on the same team as the Rookie of the Year, Sasuke, and then the student that was in the middle is added as the 3rd member, in this case Sakura Haruno. Plus, there's the Ino Shikacho tradition, which in your class is Ino, Shikamaru, and Choji. You can probably guess where you would have ended up after those groupings," Mizuki concluded. Naruto blinked, then his mind returned to the present. "Yes, I understand, but now that I screwed up, they're going to be 1 person short for the teams. Shino and Hinata are going to be 1 person short when they go on missions. What if that person could mean the difference between Hinata and Shino coming back alive, Mizuki-sensei?" "San, Naruto, call me San," Mizuki demanded. "I am not your sensei anymore, so that honorific is inappropriate now," Mizuki told him, but he seemed deep in thought, then his eyes widened like he just got a brilliant idea. "In fact, it's because I am no longer your sensei that I can clue you in on a way to earn some extra credit that could be used to allow you to pass." "Really?" Naruto asked in excitement that he did not have to fake. "This mission could be over sooner than I thought." How? He reduced his excitement level and tried to act cool. "I mean, what do I have to do?" Mizuki laughs at Naruto's antics. "Well, I have been given a kind of mission to test the security of Hokage Tower, and I plan to do that while by trying to steal." Later that night, a siren began to blare all over the village. Within seconds, the ninja of the village were reaching the positions they were assigned in general emergencies. The ninja not assigned a permanent post rallied to the Hokage for their assignments. That's where they found out what happened. It was Naruto. The Hokage informed them. "He has stolen the Forbidden Scroll from the Hokage vault," she told them. Mizuki and Iruka had expressions of shock. Only one of them was genuine. Then other ninja began to voice their opinions. "This isn't just a prank, Hokage-sama. This is treason," one shinobi offered. "He should be tried and executed. There is no excuse for this," another said. Mikoto bowed her head, but kept her eyes on the 2 teachers, then sighed, raising her head. "Fine, the first order of business is to get the scroll back. By any means necessary, try to do it without hurting Naruto," she said in a sad voice. "But if you must, I will understand." Mikoto looked at all of them, not lingering on the teachers any more than necessary, dismissed. They were all gone before she closed her mouth. After their departure, she had a smile on her face. "Good luck, my precious godson, it's up to you now." Her smile changed to a worried grimace. "Please be careful." In a darkened part of the forest, Naruto was running and jumping and leaping through the trees, with a giant scroll upon his back. He was almost to the rendezvous point Mizuki team specified, and he was disgusted. "That was the most pitiful excuse for security I have ever seen," he mused to his parents. "No kidding," Minato agreed. "It seems the village has gotten complacent since I was Hokage." "Yeah," Naruto's mother supplied. "No offense, son, but a genin shouldn't be able to steal something so valuable. It should at least take a team of jonin to even get to the vault, let alone steal something out of it." Naruto shook his head. "None taken, Mom, and I agree. With people like Orochimaru out there, or you for that matter, The village really needs to update its security protocols. Naruto reached the cabin in the woods, although shack, toolshed, hovel were better descriptions than the word the trader used. He took the scroll from his back. Okay, Mom, Dad, I'm here. Any suggestions? Well, Kushina said, you're supposed to spend time learning a technique from it. Why don't you open it up and look through it? Are you sure, Mom? Naruto thought back. I mean, there must be a reason these techniques are forbidden, he thought dubiously. I see no issue with it as long as you listen to us about what to learn and what leave alone, Minato added in agreement. Many of these techniques were termed kenjutsu because of the chakra usage. Naruto thought about what his parents were saying. Okay, but be prepared to copy all of them into the archive just in case. Naruto began to study the jutsu in the Forbidden Scroll. The Kage Bunshin was of no interest since he already knew a better clone technique. He did learn the summoning technique, plus summoning, resurrection to an impure world since that might be beneficial for his parents in bringing them back to the world. He also learned the secrets to Sage Art, and right below that was a seal that read Six Paths Legacy. It had a chakra seal on it. Naruto's curiosity got the better of him, and on a whim, he channeled his and Kyuubi's chakra into the seal, just to see what would happen. The purplish chakra he used 8 years ago to bring his parents back into existence came forth and molded into the chakra seal. In a puff of smoke, out of the seal came the image of a tall, pale-skinned man, who had deep wrinkles and a strong jawline in his elderly age. He had spiky, shoulder-length, pale red hair, with a chin-length, braided lock hanging in front of his left ear. He also sported a goatee, which was tapered down to his waist. The old man had a pair of horn-like protrusions extending from either side of his forehead. He also had a red ocular marking in the center of his forehead. This man wore a white, full-length kimono with a pattern of 6 black magatama around a high collar, beneath which, he wore a necklace which was also made up of 6 black magatama. On the back of his kimono was a larger, black ocular marking with a pattern of 9 magatama arranged in 3 rows of 3 beneath it. The man gazed at Naruto as if appraising him. He seemed to have eyes that could see right through anything. They sort of reminded Naruto of the eyes of his friend, Hinata. Hello, to you descendant of mine, my name is Hagoromo Otsutsuki. Naruto gasped, the sage of the Sixth Path. No way, he exclaimed, my name is Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze, genin of the Konohagakure no Sado. Naruto's parents were gaping as they looked out at the world through the sun's eyes. Naruto could feel the man's power radiating from him like heat from the sun, and this was just his image. What would it feel like to stand in his presence? Even his parents were silent with respect, and Kyuubi, who was cowering in his cage, with his tails between his legs. Wait, Naruto said, you called me your descendant, how can that be possible? The sage smiled, well, when a man and a woman get together. Wait, I don't need the birds and the bees talk, my father and mother already gave it to me, Naruto said, blushing blood red. I meant it's been over 2,000 years since your death. How do you know I am your descendant? The sage grew serious. Because only my descendants, coupled with the chakra of my sons Azura and Indra, could have opened that seal just now, plus I felt the chakra of Kurama, and only one of my blood could hold any of the tailed beasts above 5 and not be destroyed. For now, please take my word for it, as I don't have much time, I must unlock your birthright for you before I am too weak to do it. Faster than the strike of lightning, Hagoromo launched his hands toward Naruto's eyes. Mindscape. Naruto's world went dark, and he seemed to be hearing voices. They sounded like his parents, and the Six Paths speaking, followed by the sound of a child being spanked. Then Naruto felt his consciousness return. He woke up in his mindscape. He was in his parents' house. They were sitting around his bed. What happened, Mom, Dad? He asked. The sage gave you a gift before the last of his chakra dissipated, his father answered. We are direct descendants of his mother added, digging into a nightstand. He awakened a part of your DNA that allows you to access the Rinnegan, she said, holding up a hand mirror. On Naruto's face, nothing had changed. His Akumigan blazed forth as it always had. His whisker marks were still there, his blonde hair. But on his brow one thing stood out to him the most, the eyeball in the middle of his forehead. Ah, Naruto screamed, as he flung the mirror away from himself. If this was the physical world, the mirror would have been broken, but this was in his mind, and he controlled many things in here, namely the fragility of objects. The mirror did not break, and as Kushina went to the other side of the bedroom to retrieve it, Naruto, who had flung himself away from his offending image, to cower on the other side of the bed, peeked his head up to see what was happening. I know, Naruto, his father affirmed for him, even we, who love you no matter what you look like, were taken aback when we saw it. It doesn't matter to us, really, what you look like, and you're still quite handsome, but yeah, your new appearance may take a little getting used to. His mother approached him with the throne mirror. You're still our boy, Naruto. I don't care what you look like, I love you, and nothing short of you becoming a coward and a pathetic excuse for a person will change that. Naruto looked up into her face and asked, "Do you mean it, Mom?" he asked tremulously. "Every damn word," she answered. "Besides, while you were out and before he left, and after he whipped Kurama's ass for that stunt he tried to pull when you were 4, he taught us how to help you with them, including how to deactivate them." Naruto's smile would have been brighter than the sun if it were up, and if you choose to do so, you can use Shinhenge and Genjutsu to conceal it. Reality. Minato moved forward smoothly. "Now we've got a few hours before you're scheduled to meet the traitor here. Let's get started on one of the powers of the Rinnegan. We'll start with the Path of Naraka." Mizuki stood balancing on a tree branch looking down upon the demon brat. It had taken him longer to shake the other ninja than expected. He was later than usual to meet Naruto. Naruto sat kneeling on the ground next to the shack Mizuki found when he was a genin, that nobody seemed to use, or even own. Mizuki jumped to the ground and approached Naruto. In addition to his Chunin uniform, Mizuki carried 2 Fuma shuriken on his back. "Naruto, did you get the scroll?" Naruto opened his blue eyes. His forehead was blemish-free, thanks to his mother's suggestion about how to hide the Rinnegan and his horns. "I did, Mizuki-san. It was laughably easy to get it," he said with a chuckle. "The Hokage really needs to update security procedures. If a genin like me could get that scroll, then traitors like Orochimaru wouldn't break a sweat." At the name, Mizuki flinched. "Yes, well, that's exactly what the Hokage wanted to know." Mizuki held out his hand. "Why don't you hand me that scroll?" he said. "You wait here, I'll send somebody to get you and award your extra credit." Naruto grinned wider. "You must really think I'm stupid, don't you, Mizuki-teen?" Naruto's vermilion eyes began to ripple outward, away from the iris until there were 3 dark lines surrounding the pupil. This was Naruto's mutated, fully mature Sharingan hybrid, with 3 circles orbiting a white pupil. He also released the genjutsu covering his third eye. The eye on his forehead was vertical and had eyelids, but no lashes. It was the same shade of red as his Akumigan. If one did not know the difference, the Samsara eyes would be considered an extension of his demon eyes. It had the 6 circles as described in history books, but the center was a white as the Akumigan. News flash, dumbass, hatred of your enemy doesn't automatically make them your inferior. I don't have very high regard for Konoha, Naruto admitted. In fact, there are some days, like my birthday, where I despise the very existence of this village, and if not for, but a few of its inhabitants for which I have fond feelings, I'd have washed my hands of these savages years ago. That doesn't mean they are beneath me or are any less noble than me, Naruto added, getting back to his original purpose. As Naruto ranted, Mizuki's face twisted from affable educator into an ugly mask of twisted loathing. What's with those eyes and the horns? I always knew he was a demon, Mizuki thought. You're correct, you little demon brat. Hating you doesn't make you inferior to me. Tell me, have you ever wondered why the whole village hates and detests you? This ought to be rich, Naruto mused. Enlighten me, he replied to his teacher. Do you remember in class, when we went over the Kyuubi attack that happened about 12 years ago? Mizuki asked. Yeah, what about it? Naruto retorted. Everybody, born on that day, and after, was told the 4th Hokage killed the beast, Mizuki said, but that's impossible, no mortal can kill a tailed beast. The only thing to do with it was seal it inside a person, anything else would be destroyed. The only creature capable of holding the beast was a newborn infant. Mizuki trailed off because Naruto finished for him. Because an infant's chakra coils have not yet fully formed, Naruto finished for his former teacher. So, Minato Namikaze sealed the Kyuubi no Kitsune into me, his only son. That's a great sacrifice, because to complete the sealing he had to call upon the power of death itself, which requires the soul of the caster. Mizuki's eyes got even wider, and that's when Naruto struck. Before he could react, Naruto yelled, Adamantine chains, deploy. Before Mizuki knew what hit him, Naruto shot 2 chains out at the speed of a bullet. His chains were morphed into a harpoon, puncturing the hapless teacher in his chest, just below the right collarbone, and into his left flank. Mizuki did not have time to react, and screamed in agony, then fright as a realization dawned on him. Tell me, Mizuki team, Naruto demanded, though he was calm, if I really was the Nine Tails, why would I waste my time remaining in this form? The Kyuubi no Kitsune is said to be the most powerful of the tailed beasts. If I was the demon fox, I could have broken loose and laid waste to this place or taken possession of this body and escaped by throwing myself into the nearest ravine. If what you say is true, then killing this body won't do much more than inconvenience me, until I reincorporate. Why waste my time still being in this insignificant village when I could be shot of it? Mizuki recovered from his agony quickly. I always knew you were a demon, he spat. Get over here, Naruto bellowed, as he yanked the Chunin toward him, and delivered an open double palm strike to Mizuki's sternum, which would have sent him to the ground if he was not being held up by Naruto. Naruto heard the crunch of rib bones at the impact point, but he was not finished. He grabbed Mizuki by the back of the head and brought his knee into his face, once, twice, thrice. Mizuki fell face first into the ground, before Naruto used his head by gripping Mizuki's hair. "You're pretty tough, Mizuki-san. That should have been enough to put you into dreamland," Naruto commented. "If you're wondering why you have been unable to access your chakra, my chains prevent anybody from using chakra, except me, of course, lightning." Mizuki watched as energy traveled up the boy's body, and traveled down the chains. The screams from his mouth could have probably been heard in Earth Country. When it was over, Mizuki was knocked out on the ground. Several minutes later, the Hokage, her husband, son, and cousin, the Sandaime, the head of the Senju, and Kurenai, landed in front of the last Uzumaki Namikaze. They landed in front of him with several ANBU and UPF police officers. They saw Naruto's eyes, his normal Akumigan, plus the Rinnegan in the middle of his forehead. "You have the Rinnegan?" Mikoto asked. There was a point where the crystal ball was no longer receiving an image, which was why we got here so fast. Mikoto came forward and hugged him. "I was so worried something happened to you," she said with a clear voice, but her body was shaking slightly. "Give me a brief report on everything that happened here," the Hokage ordered. Naruto began to tell her everything from the time Mizuki asked him to steal the forbidden scroll, to how easy it was, he said in rebuke, to when he went through the scroll and found the seal containing the Sage of Six Paths chakra. He told them how the sage acknowledged Naruto as a direct descendant of his, through his sons, and awakened the Samsara Eye. Then, he told them about his fight with Mizuki, and how it ended. "Take him away, get him to the hospital. Make sure he is hale and hearty for his trial," the Hokage ordered venomously, pointing at the traitorous, unconscious Chunin. The guards took the traitor away. The Hokage turned to Naruto, and took something from up her sleeve. "Now, Naruto, I believe you forgot something this afternoon after your test." She held up her arm, showing him a hidden leaf headband. She extended her hand, he took it, and tied it around his forehead. "This one is just temporary, until I can find one that I know you will appreciate." "Thank you very much, Hokage-sama," he bowed to hide his tears. A new mask. Sarutobi Gigi, even though he was retired as the Hokage, could not bring himself to completely retire from service to the village. Therefore, in addition to acting as a member of the clan council, and as an elder, was placed as the principal and administrator for the Ninja Academy and career counselor for all ninja, below Jonin level. He advised the Hokage on team placement and aided the Hokage in planning and organizing the Chunin exam, whether in Konoha or in other nations. Hiruzen took care of the minutiae details, like the taking of the ninja license photograph. Naruto was wearing his normal ninja garb, a forest green, camouflage pattern jumpsuit, and on his forehead, he wore a set of goggles. He was so excited about finally becoming a ninja that he reverted to acting like the 12-year-old boy he was. "Hey, ninja don't have to be serious all the time. Wanna fight about it, reader?" Kushina was just as excited and kept making suggestions on how Naruto should take the license photo. The result ended with him wearing full-on kabuki makeup and looking like a demon, or an ass, however you wish to read it. It did not go over too well with his Jiji, or Oka-san. They called him before the board to discuss it, at length. Naruto had a sheepish grin on his face, and kept scratching the back of his head, in modesty. Naruto totally misinterpreted the looks on their faces and began wagging his tongue. "At first, I couldn't figure out how to do it," he said, and he was a lemming about to go over the cliff. "It took me like 3 hours to work it out and stuff, but finally, I got it. Like an art project on my face, only cooler." Naruto should have kept his eyes open and mouth shut. His godmother and the Hokage was looking at him with a twitching eye, and Hiruzenjiji could not take his eyes off the photo. "If I didn't know any better," the Hokage started to say through gritted teeth, "I'd say, you've come under the influence of a dumbass tomato," she screamed. In his mindscape, Kushina began screaming at her best friend, calling her names that would make a teamster blush. "But I know that's not right, because no mother would want her son to be the laughingstock of the ninja world," she all but roared. "I definitely wouldn't allow it, if it were any of my other sons," she said with a small upward twitch of her lips, before continuing in an even harsher tone. "I would probably even tan Sasuke and Itachi's hides if they even thought about getting their ninja license photos taken looking like a clown, and not even a funny clown." She stood up and exited the room, giving Naruto one last glare of disapproval. "Take it, again," Sarutobijiji flat out ordered, brooking no nonsense as his godmother closed the door behind her. Naruto opened his eyes wide, flabbergasted that they did not appreciate his efforts. "No way, old man. We can't accept this photo," the elder responded. "Yeah," Naruto challenged him. "Well, I'm not doing it again," crossing his arms over his chest and sulking. There was a tense standoff, looking into the eyes of one of the people Naruto cared most about in this world. They glared into each other's eyes, either daring to flinch. Then to give himself the edge, he shinhenged into what he liked to call his sexy jutsu, basically changing into a female version of himself. Naruto loves his grandfather figure, who may be one of the strongest ninjas in the village, but he suffers from the same vices as all men, lust. Naruto's female version is one of the hottest women in the village. She has long, blonde hair, with bangs down her forehead, gathered into bunches called angel wings, which reach down to her mid-back. He had named her Naruto, with a body that reflects all of Naruto's training, but ideal for a woman with a 32c, 28 waist, and 30 hips, a frame that's built for speed and stamina. He struck a pose squeezing his together, emphasizing his cleavage, but holding his hands over her core. Pretty please, Sandame-sama, asked Naruto's sweet and sultry voice. Sarutobi was at once propelled backward by a powerful nosebleed, out of his chair, and into a catatonic state. Hiruzen recovered quickly enough, with a handkerchief under his nose, wiping away excess blood. Naruto had reverted to his natural body, and Hiruzen was asking about Naruto. That's your Naruto form, you say? He asked curiously. Hi, Erogigi, Naruto affirmed to him. She's what I would look like if I had been born with 2 X chromosomes. Tricky, the Sandame admitted, very tricky, then with a hard glare said, don't do it again, he ordered, in his Hokage voice, and being an elder, was second in command after the Hokage. Naruto was bound by law to obey him. He snapped to attention, yes, sir. Where is your headband, Naruto? He snapped. You're supposed to be wearing it. Oh, I'm not putting it on until the orientation, Naruto answered. I don't want to mess it up. So, Hiruzen cut in, you want your headband nice, but your photo, which is supposed to identify you as a ninja, makes you look like a clown. The photo is for ninja training and missions, he barked, which is the key to your future. He lifts the page on the photo and continues. Look at this picture, you can't even tell who it is, he finishes in exasperation, and I thought after what I'd seen at your house the other night that you had outgrown this kind of immaturity. Naruto slumped in his chair, weathering the elder's rebuke, who took a deep breath and let it out slowly. Naruto, you are no longer a child. The moment you tied that headband around your head, your childhood ended. You will now be held to the same standard as any civilian adult. Hiruzen continued his lecture. Though you may not marry until you are a chunin, you can be betrothed, father children, own a business, though you must still adhere to all laws governing business and commerce, except age requirements. Naruto blushed at the first 2, and was intrigued by the last one, but Sarutobi could not finish his lecture without slipping in some philosophy. If you please, you can look at it like this. Before the headband you were a child, you spoke as a child, thought as a child, acted as a child. After the headband you became a man, and nevertheless must put away childish things, most of the time. Fine, old man, the genin grumbled, I'll change my photo, and I'm sorry. Sarutobi grinned, it's alright, Naruto-kun, we'll schedule time to retake. Before he finished, he suddenly went serious. Even Naruto could sense the presence of an assailant, and the old man's eyes cast themselves toward the entrance to the room, which had inched itself open as we were talking. Slamming the door open, old man, came a childish voice, I challenge you, and a little boy came running into the room. The boy was unremarkable with short, spiky brown hair, dark eyes, and a chipped tooth. In his right hand he carried a shuriken, and he was wearing a gray helmet, with a hole at the top for his hair to stick out, a yellow, short-sleeved t-shirt, gray shorts, and a long scarf that seemed longer than he was tall. I'm going to defeat you and become the 6th Hokage. Then just as he reached the old man's position, he tripped over nothing, hitting the ground face first, and started crying. Just then, a shinobi wearing the standard Konoha ninja uniform, minus flak jacket, with a pair of black shades, and wearing his forehead protector like a bandana, ran into the room. Looking concerned and aghast, he looked on as the little boy rose to his feet, clutching his head in pain. Something tripped me, the boy whined. The ninja at the door gasped, and asked in near panic, Are you okay, Omego-sama? Besides, there's nothing here to trip you, the ninja asserted while adjusting his glasses, it's quite flat. Naruto just stood there in shock and confusion. Who is this shrimp? For once even Kushina and Minato did not seem to have that answer, but they did supply answers about the older shinobi. The shinobi's name is Ebisu, Minato informed Naruto. He was a genin on Choza Akimichi's team when I was a Jonin sensei. I don't know anything else about him. The brat on the floor continued to clutch his wound, before turning an accusing glare on Naruto. Finally, Ebisu noticed Naruto, which shocked him, then sent a wary glance in his the first time he had received that glare, which he greatly prefers to the hate-filled kind most civilians send his way. The little turd stood up and stomped over to shove his finger in Naruto's face. Alright, he yelled, you're the one who tripped me, aren't you? That was the perfect thing to say to Naruto, if the kid wanted to piss him off. Naruto grabbed the kid's scarf and got in his face, and growled out, You tripped over your own feet, dork. Hey you, the ninja shouted, take your hands off of him, this instant, he demanded. He's the Omega-sama of the Honorable Sandaime-sama, he informed me, as if that would stop me from teaching this little bastard a lesson. Naruto looked between the old man, and then the brat, who gained a smug expression on his little monkey face. What's the matter, huh? The little brat began spouting. I thought you were gonna hit me, tough guy. Afraid because the third is my grandpa? He asked in a smug, arrogant tone of voice. I don't care if he's your grandma, Naruto yelled with a demonic face, and the next thing the little bastard knows Naruto's knuckles met the top of his head, to Bayo. The little brat was more shocked than injured. Naruto guessed nobody ever treated him like he had, he's probably used to people kissing his ass, before wiping it. Ebisu was so shocked that somebody would dare to strike the grandson of the third Hokage, that he could barely form words. The old man, himself, who had done nothing to prevent Naruto's actions, closed his eyes in resignation of more stressful events. Ebisu gathered his composure and instead of yelling at Naruto, begins to hurl insults at Naruto, but disguises it as scolding the kid. Listen carefully, you are Omega-sama of the Sandaime-sama, Ebisu began, holding up a lecturing finger. You cannot let riffraff like this draw you into a fight, even though he deserves it. Spreading his arms, Ebisu continued, you see he's far beneath you, and you, a chain the size of his finger began to discreetly snake its way up Ebisu's leg, mustn't stoop. Before Ebisu could finish his disparaging comments about Naruto, Ebisu was yanked off his feet. He screamed out in pain, because the force dislocated his hip as Naruto brought the Jonin to face him. Naruto pulled Ebisu until he could seize him with the collar of his shinobi sweater and was looking into Naruto's Akumigin. Ebisu's eyes became as wide as dinner plates, behind his shades. Naruto ripped the shades off his face, and in a menacing voice spoke to him, now you listen and listen good, you third-rate ninja. My name is Namake's Uzumaki Naruto. I am the clan head of the Uzumaki and Namake's clans, and unless Tsunade Itoko, cousin, becomes pregnant, or another Senju is found, I am the heir to the Senju clan. If that's not enough, my father's mother was an Uchiha, and Uchiha Fugaku insists that I call him cousin. I'm not one to get all cocky about the clans, because at the end of the day, who your clan is, or who you're related to doesn't mean a damn thing. If you ever disparage my name in front of me again, I'm going to use my Uzumaki chains to fillet you like a fish. Do I make myself clear, Ebisu of Konoha? Naruto virtually spat in his face. Ebisu vigorously nodded his head. Naruto turned his face away from him in disgust, then used the chains to fling him into a wall, hard enough to crack a rib, before retracting them. Turning to the old man, Naruto bowed. Sarutobi-sama, I'll take a new photo, he said with a sigh. Please set up an appointment for me, he requested with a pointed look. When he wakes up, please give him my apologies for his injuries, and send his medical bills to my house. I will for the first, Naruto, and I was going to for the second request, Sarutobi replied with a nod. I'll be informing the Hokage as well. Naruto nodded in acknowledgement, then took his new black shades, unfolded them, and placed them on his face. It was like the beginning of a metamorphosis, though it was mostly in his mind. He felt a difference come over him, like he was a different person without the glasses. They say all ninjas wore masks, a way to distance themselves from who they were on missions away from the village, and who they were within the village. These glasses will become a part of his mask. Naruto turned to look at the third for permission to leave. Dismissed, he conceded, then Naruto turned and left. As he was leaving, he heard Sarutobi key his intercom, please, send a medical ninja to, and Naruto could hear no more. Leaving the Hokage mansion. Upon leaving the tower, Naruto decided to take the slow way back to his house. He began to ponder what had happened the last few days. He had gained the Rinnegan and had been practicing with it for 3 days straight, using demon clones to amplify his experience with his new dojutsu. The Rinnegan is not just a passive dojutsu, like the Sharingan, it has the same visual capabilities of the Uchiha dojutsu, but like the Mangekyo or his Akumigin in that it can affect the world around but where the advanced Sharingan has access only to projection and to a limited degree, the local pantheon. The Rinnegan can not only affect this world, but links him to other worlds, and in some weird way, that even the Rikudo Sennin never understood, makes him part of those worlds. Naruto may activate either dojutsu separately or together. If done separately he can use his natural eye sockets to project either one of them, but when activated together he must use the configuration in which they first manifested. When activated, his Rinnegan possesses the Eye of Insight and Eye of Hypnotism, like the Sharingan, and he can cast Genjutsu through them as well, but he loses the 360 capabilities and the ability to peer through solid objects. The trade-off is he can cast his Rinnegan into the eyes of his demon clones and get real-time data while looking through their eyes, instead of waiting for them to dispel. That drawback is eliminated when Naruto activates both dojutsu together, the visual capabilities harmonize, and his visual acuity is amplified by 3. Naruto was brought out of his musings because he felt himself being followed. He activated his demonic eyes and peered back along his path and noticed a rock that was not there, when he passed that spot just seconds before. He did not need to look through the shoddy camo sheet to know who it was. It's the shrimp from the Sandame's office. Ninjas do not like being followed, especially by some kid who was more of a distraction than anything else. He might distract me from real enemies, if I let this go on. Naruto whirled around. I know you're following me, just give it up, already, and he yelled, idly noting that the kid had good reflexes, but his execution left something to be desired. That's so obvious it's pathetic, he grumbled. Nobody ever coddled me when I was younger. I won't coddle him. All Naruto's words produced was an annoying little laugh, and the little kid's face came into view above his camo sheet. Saw through my disguise, huh? The rumors about you are true, you're good. Naruto's eyebrows rose above his new shades. No, I'm not, he retorted. I'm just better than you, and have had training, which you lack. What's your name anyway? Ebisu team, only ever called you honorable grandson. Not to be deterred, the kid marched up to Naruto, pointing right at his face. Alright, my name is Konohamaru, Sarutobi Konohamaru, and he said I'm gonna be your apprentice and you're gonna be my trainer, he declared, brooking no disagreement. Ah, he's so cute, Naruto, his mom gushed, like you when you were his age, baby. Huh, Naruto asked in bewilderment. Konohamaru continued, you've gotta show me how to do that sexy jutsu thing you did on Grandpa, he exclaimed enthusiastically, and that chain thing you used to defeat Ebisu-sensei. You're joking, right? The blonde wondered, crossing his arms and turning to the side. No, I need a new trainer, Konohamaru stated, giving Naruto the puppy eyes. No jutsu, please boss? That surprised Naruto even more than his request. Boss? Yeah, you're the boss, Konohamaru answered. Boss. I can't teach you the exact jutsu I use, because it's a clan jutsu, the genin told him, which earned a sagely nod from the Konohamaru. Even he, as young as he was, understood clan loyalties. I may be able to teach you a derivative, based on the academy henge. I can do both, and the chains are an Uzumaki bloodline, which can't be taught to anybody. Kekkei Genkai, cool, Konohamaru's eyes gleamed, and he clenched his fists in excitement. So does that mean you'll train me, boss? How can I refuse, Konohamaru Doko, pupil? What even powerful ninja are subject to human frailties? Naruto's just happens to be flattery. Wanna fight about it, reader? New results and teammates. It was the next week after the exposure of Mizuki, a few days after gaining his first student, and one day after taking a more mature ninja license photo, that found Naruto walking toward the entrance to the academy. His mouth was lit in a sunshine-bright smile. The capture of the traitor Mizuki marked the completion of his first mission as a ninja of the leaf. He wondered how many ninjas had begun their career with an A-rank mission already on their record. I'm sure it's happened before, but I'll bet they're rare. Naruto's ninja apparel had changed only slightly. In addition to a jungle camouflage-colored tiger-striped, long-sleeved shirt and ANBU-style trousers, with a mahogany utility belt, kunai pouch strapped to his right thigh, and ninja tool kit on the back right of his utility belt, that he wore daily at the academy. He now wore his new hidden leaf headband on his left arm, flexible combat boots, no steel toe, wraparound shades, and nentiken, strapped vertically on his back along his spine. This was his dad's family sword. Minato was never interested in kenjutsu, so he never used it in battle. It was called nentiken, the Formless. It was one of the sharpest, densest blades ever found and had a ninjutsu sealed in it that made the blade and the wielder intangible. It could help focus the mind and allow the wielder to cast ninjutsu and genjutsu, without using hand signs. A skilled enough user could nullify armor and become untouchable in a battle. It could also extend 5 meters to reach your enemy. If they thought they could remain out of range, they would be sorely mistaken. Naruto also carried another blade, in a holster attached to the utility belt. The hilt is a round, symmetrical, metal scepter with 2 ribbed spherical heads. The ribs of both heads meet in a ball-shaped top, but when in use, one or both heads open and what can best be described as lightning bolts project from both ends. It was the Raijin no Ken, the blade of the Thunder God, once owned by Tobirama Senju. Tsunade had granted it to him as a graduation gift. Carrying the blade of Tobirama declared him the heir of the Senju clan. Upon entering the academy, Naruto was pleasantly surprised to see his godmother present in her official robes and Kage hat. Good morning, Hokage-sama, Naruto bowed deeply. Are you here to attend the graduation of your son? When Mikoto was not in her Hokage raiment, Naruto and her family treated her just like family. However, when dressed as she is now, all members of her family gave her the respect her office deserved. Yes, I am, Uzumaki Namikaze-san, for both of my sons, she said with a meaningful smile, to Naruto's pleased nod. As soon as I take care of some work-related business, she answered. Naruto came even with her, and she fell in step with him. They went ahead to Naruto's classroom. Naruto stepped to the door and opened it for her, as per ninja military etiquette. As soon as the door opened, Iruka-sensei shouted, "Class, attention for the Hokage." The whole class instantly popped to their feet and bowed. The Hokage marched to the front of the class, as Iruka moved around to the sides still bowing. Nobody may stand behind a Kage, except the daimyo, unless the Kage expressly allowed it. The Hokage placed her hand on Naruto's shoulder, as they turned to face the rest of the class. "As you were, graduates," the Hokage ordered crisply. She waited for the class to rise and sit down. "Last week, you all participated in a graduation exam to determine if you were ready to become ninja," the Hokage began. "This is a prestigious honor, one that very few in this village alone have accomplished. Once you are sorted into your genin teams, you will begin missions ranging from chores around our village to espionage and assassinations. These missions are the backbone of the economy for Konohagakure no Sato." The Hokage kept her hand on Naruto's shoulder during the entirety of her speech. "What none of you realized last week was one of your number was already on a mission," she continued, pushing Naruto forward. The class was surprised, but the discipline they learned here kept them from making any vigorous outburst, other than a widening of their eyes and their jaws dropping. "You may have noticed that one of your teachers, Mizuki, is missing today. He was the subject of the mission. He turned traitor and was going to sell the secrets of our forbidden techniques to one of the enemies of our village, Orochimaru of the Sannin. Uzumaki Namikaze Naruto-san, at great personal risk to not only his life, but his career as a ninja, intentionally failed the academy graduation exam. I will not go into detail, but Uzumaki Namikaze-san was able to subdue the traitor Mizuki, who is now a guest of torture and interrogation, and will be standing trial for treason and attempted murder. Before starting on this mission, Uzumaki Namikaze-san took part in an abridged genin exam, specifically the ninjutsu part, and passed quite handily, as seen by Sarutobi Dano and Senju Dano. Therefore, the results of the exam conducted previously are substituted for the results of the academy exam. He will be getting paid for an A-ranked mission, the minimum of which is 1 million, which will go on his record." The Hokage turned to Naruto and took a headband with a forehead protector from her sleeve and extended it to the Nine-Tails Jinchuriki. It looked like any other forehead protector, except the headband was crimson red. This was the headband of Kushina Uzumaki, the clan head and only known surviving member of the Uzumaki clan. She was the most powerful ninja of her generation, known as a Kaisher in the Bingo book, and Godame's voice softened, "Your mother." Naruto's eyes were wide, not because he did not know, but from the sudden shout of his mother in his mind. "Yes, yes, yes," Kushina exclaimed. "Now I can give you my blade, the reason I was called Red Death." "Are you sure?" Naruto asked nervously. "I'm worthy of it, mother. I had only planned on wearing Nentakin when I made my team." Naruto felt her nod her head, before replying, "Oh yes, in fact wielding Nentakin is much more difficult than a Kaishi, and you've been at Chunin level mastery for a year now." He turned to the Hokage, accepting the headband. "Thank you, Hokage-sama," he said, bowing, and removed the headband he got last night and replaced it with his mother's. "Please, return to your seat, Uzumaki Namikaze-san," the Hokage ordered. As soon as he did, the Hokage removed a scroll from the other sleeve of her robe, handing it to Iruka. "Replace the results of Naruto's ninjutsu exam, with the notes, and results on the paper please, Chunin Yumino-san." "Hi, Hokage-sama," Iruka replied, accepting the page. Then bowing he went over to his desk, and opening his files removed Naruto's folder. He removed the ninjutsu results with his handwriting and added the new results. Using a small amount of fire-molded chakra, Iruka incinerated the old test results. After that, he read them and calculated the new results, then looked at his Hokage, with surprise. She smirked and nodded, confirming what he read, and motioned for him to present his findings to the class. "This is unprecedented," he exclaimed. "We now have a three-way tie for Rookie of the Year, between Uchiha Sasuke, Hyuga Hinata, and Uzumaki Naruto." The Hokage looked at her son with pride, who turned red and ducked his head modestly. Hinata also turned red, but remained erect with confidence, as if to say, "Of course." Naruto blushed also, sat up straighter and yelled, "Dada Bayo." The rest of the class shouted in varying degrees of disbelief or surprise. "How is that possible, sensei?" Sakura asked. "Well," Iruka answered, "they got a perfect score on the academic portion. Hinata got the highest score of 100 in the taijutsu portion, followed by Naruto, then Sasuke. Sasuke got a perfect score in the confidence course at 3 minutes 5 seconds, followed again by Naruto and Hinata. Finally, on the ninjutsu part, Naruto was given extra credit in substitution, for speed and reaction time, and an innovation on the transformation and clone techniques. That means, he was the best at ninjutsu. Since all three of them obtained perfect scores in at least 2 events, that means they are tied together as Rookies of the Year. With Hinata, Rookie of the Year, that means Sakura is Kunoichi of the Year. Sakura smirked. I guess I'm okay with that, she nodded. The Hokage nodded. Yes, congratulations Academy graduates, she said, leading them in applause. With these results, I am going to make a last-minute change to team assignments. The children waited on bated breath, waiting for their Hokage to continue. She began reading teams 1 through 6. Team 7 will consist of Uzumaki Namake's Naruto, Haruno Sakura, and Uchiha Sasuke. Your Jonin sensei will be Mitarashi Enko. Team 8 will have Hyuga Hinata, Aburame Shino, and Inuzuka Kiba. Your Jonin sensei is Yuhi Kurenai. Team 9 is still active, so therefore, Team 10 will include Akamichi Choji, Nara Shikamaru, and Yamanaka Ino. Your Jonin sensei will be Uchiha Itachi. The Hokage waited a few seconds for the cheers and grumblings to fade, before continuing. Please understand, there are reasons behind the team placements. Continue to grow strong and serve the village, the best you possibly can. The Hokage turned and left. Then, Iruka congratulated them, and left the room, instructing them to wait for their Jonin sensei to arrive. SHA, I got Sasuke-kun on my team, Sakura screeched, then turned to her best friend. Suck it, Ino pig. You can bite my ass, Sengoku, the Yamanaka heir shouted. Sakura chuckled. No thanks, I'm not hungry for pork, she retorted viciously, but maybe I can interest you in some crow. The two kunoichi went on, continuing to trade insults. The entire class had long since gotten used to the complexities of the Sakurino friendship. When it was just the two of them, they were closer than sisters, until Sasuke's name came up. When that happened, only the Shodame Hokage and Madara Uchiha were deadlier enemies. Totally, ignoring the two young women already in a brawl, Naruto, Hinata, and Sasuke sat together chatting. They bombarded the sun-kissed blonde with questions about his mission. They understood the secrecy involved, clearance levels and need to know were hammered into every one of them, from day one of their shinobi education. One by one, the Jonin sensei came to collect their students. Itachi congratulated his brothers for being rookies of the year, before taking his team and leaving. The last two came together, because they had been on the same team as Genin and were great friends. Kurenai quietly collected her team and left, while Mitarashi-sensei studied her team. After they all left, she grinned, a sadistic grin. All right, my little smelly fish, meet me up on the roof, you have 3 minutes, move out. Training Ground 7. The next day. Naruto unleashed his chains and grabbed his two teammates, wrapping them tightly around their waists. Sasuke, being great friends with Naruto, trusted his best friend and teammate, but Sakura, who barely tolerated Naruto on a good day, shrieked and started to struggle. But once Naruto has you in his clutches, you are stuck there until he decides to release you. Let me out of these chains, Naruto Baka, Sakura screeched. I can't use my chakra, Sakura cried out in fear. It's okay, Sakura-san, Sasuke called out calmly. I can't use mine either, it's a property of Naruto's Kekkai Genkai, adamantine chains. Anybody captured by the chains can't use their chakra at all. Hence when he was 4, even if he had not grabbed the Chunin by the neck, killing them, they could not have escaped if they tried, not by using chakra, that is. Flashback, 30 minutes ago. Naruto started running through the trees of Training Ground 7, jumping and leaping through the forest canopy, trying to put some distance between himself and his team's hunter, Mitarashi Enko-sensei. It was the test that their sensei devised to be sure they were worthy to be genin. It was a form of hide and seek, where they were the hunted, and their sensei, the hunter. The academy graduates had to evade capture until noon, and whomever was captured would be sent back to the academy. When they first began the task, they split up, feeling the best way to prevent capture was to separate. Once he was in a good hiding spot, Minato and Kushina began talking to him about the true purpose of the exercise, teamwork. That it did not matter if they were captured or not, if they did not at least try to use teamwork, not only would they lose, but all of them would be sent back to the academy. No genin can take on a jonin by themselves, son, his mother informed him. The chains and your dojutsu don't make you invincible, baby, she continued, and Enko is one of the best the village has. She was trained by Orochimaru, remember? Orochimaru may be a traitor, son, Minato added, but he was one of the legendary Sannin for a reason. You're right, sorry for letting my new capabilities go to my head, Naruto conceded. That's perfectly understandable, just remember, his father replied, in the ninja world nobody is truly invincible, and techniques are evolving all the time. Who knows, maybe somebody has a counter to your chains? So, Naruto went to look for Sasuke and Sakura, who he found tied to a pair of stumps, guarded by a snake summon. Naruto activated his Akumugen and saw the scene before him. He could see the auras of his teammates. Sasuke was an electric blue flame that was steady and stable, only wavering with small fluctuations, showing his slight discomfort. Sakura was a vibrant hot pink flame moving erratically, showing her fear and uncertainty. The snake guard had a brownish aura that looked like the waves of an EKG readout. Naruto scanned the area around him. He spotted another aura that had the same brownish aura as the snake summon, except this one was as steady as good earth. Naruto looked back and forth between the two auras. I get it, because the summon is dependent on the chakra of the summoner when in this world, they share auras. That's probably true, son, but that doesn't answer the question of your current dilemma. How are you going to rescue your teammates, if that is what you should do? His mother asked. There is no doubt in my mind that I'm going to rescue them, mother, Naruto replied. The question is, how do I do it without getting captured with them? We could tell you, son, but this is one of those situations where you need to rely on your own ingenuity, Naruto's father told him. While Naruto felt nervous, he felt grateful to his parents for having such faith in him. Well, first things first, I need to distract the worm and its mistress long enough to get to my teammates. Once there, barring any complications, I'll use my chains to free and escape with them. Naruto makes the sign for the clone jutsu and produces 8 demon clones at various points around the clearing. The snake summon hisses and lunges directly at one of his clones. This clone substitutes for him, calling Naruto instead of the other way around. Then another clone substitutes himself with his producer, just as he finishes hand signs for a wind jutsu, ending with his forefinger and middle finger extended with the thumb raised, arc of the wind technique, double barrel. The clone bellowed, brought his thumb down flush with his extended fingers. Hundreds of pebble-sized tornadoes shot forward, blowing a huge hole in its mug, causing the snake to dispel. The rest of the clones deployed through the forest. That clone's original position was exactly 2 meters from his tied teammates. Well within the range of his chains, faster than a whip crack, Naruto snaps out a few thin, wire-like chains that change shape, making them as sharp as a razor. Naruto's chains could change shape and thickness, going from blunt force objects to sharp cutting weapons. Both of his fellow academy graduates fell forward on their knees when Naruto unleashed his thickened chains, grabbing his 2 teammates around their waists. Flashback, Kai. Let me out of these chains, Naruto Baka, Sakura screeched. I can't use my chakra, Sakura cried out in fear. It's okay, Sakura-san, Sasuke called out calmly. I can't use mine either, it's a property of Naruto's Kekkei Genkai, adamantine chains. Anybody captured by the chains can't use their chakra at all. We need to get out of the area fast, guys. I don't think Mitarashi-sensei will be surprised for long, Naruto yells out while running, and just as he closes his mouth, their sensei shuns in front of them. Very astute observation, Gaki, Enko says in an icy voice, but how are you going to get away from me now, Naruto-san? Now I have you and it's still a little before noon, which means I've captured you, and you will now go back to the academy. Sakura started screaming and calling Naruto names, but Sasuke remained stoic, while still encircled by the chains. He had faith in his friend. He knew that Naruto would not have tipped his hands so easily if he did not have a plan of action. Naruto smirked, if you say so, Enko-sensei, but I have a few tricks up my sleeve, and with that, Naruto puts his fingers to his mouth and emits a shrill, high-pitched whistle. They are suddenly substituted with a clone of Naruto. The clone smirked, I hear you like to use snakes as trackers, sensei? I've got an extensive collection of information at my house, and remember, that snakes not only scent the air, but taste it as well, so I added something extra to my smoke this morning, sulfur. The Jonin blanched just as the clone dispelled itself, and expelled a miasma of blue smoke, right in the face of the woman. The memories of the clone reached Naruto, who was now back among the trees, and he came to light upon a wide branch. He set his teammates down. I think I've managed to buy us a little time before Sensei can track us, he told them. What did you do, Naruto? Sasuke asked calmly, but with a mischievous grin. Naruto grinned evilly, and replied, did you ever let off a stink bomb, he asked, or smelled rotten eggs? Yeah, what about it, Naruto? Sakura asked impatiently. Well, as bad as those smells are for humans, Naruto answered, imagine how much worse it would be for a creature with an acute sense of smell that not only scents the air, but tastes it as well. Even Sakura could not help but laugh when he told her about adding sulfur to the clone dispersal smoke. That's very clever, Naruto. I guess you're not a total moron, after all, she said, starting to warm up to him. So what now, my friend, Sasuke asks? I suppose we should get back to evading our sensei. Yes, Naruto agreed, but instead of splitting up like we did in the beginning, I believe we should stick together and watch each other's back. Sakura was nodding. She totally agreed with the blonde, knucklehead ninja. I hate to admit it, but I think he's right, Sasuke-kun, she said. It was laughably easy for Sensei to capture me when I was by myself. Sasuke nodded. Yeah, me too, he conceded. Despite being one of the rookies of the year, Anko-san handed me my head when I went up against her. Which just shows the gap in skill between Genin and Jonin, Naruto added. By now he has retracted his chains, but kept all of his senses peeled and his dojutsu active. And in the meantime, we should just keep moving, that'll make us harder to locate, but I'm going to muddy the playing field. Naruto produced 27 copies of himself, in addition to the 7 already out there, on different trees and branches. Okay, a third of you shinhenge into Sasuke, then another third into Sakura, the last third stay as you are. There was a weird liquefaction of 2/3 of the clone Narutos, and those specified became perfect replicas of his teammates. Sakura and Sasuke had their minds blown, these were perfect likenesses of them. Sakura was curious and leapt over to one of her replicas. Turn your head away, please, she addressed the clone, who complied, the smile on her face, understanding what Sakura-san was seeking. She opened the front 2 buttons on the clone's representation of her battle dress. Inside, she encountered a bra that was a different color and a different type than the one she currently wore, leading her to sigh a little in relief, then lifted one cup and examined the beneath. She let out a bigger sigh of relief. Then after closing it back up, Sakura leapt back to their branch with her teammates. Sakura approached Naruto, raised her hand, and gave him a light slap on the back of the head. That was for ogling me, like a piece of meat. Then she surprised them all, when she cupped his cheeks and gave him a light kiss on the lips. That was for the compliment. Naruto, Sasuke and even Minato looked bewildered, and the boys looked at each other and shrugged. All 3 men had the same thought, though Minato voiced his aloud, women? Kushina grinned mysteriously. Alright Sakuras, Sasuke's, group yourselves with the Naruto, and once you've done that, move out in random intervals and directions. Then, turning to the originals he said, let's head out, we've been stationary for too long, and Anko-sensei is bound to have shaken off that rotten egg smell by now. For the next 2 hours, Anko hunted her students using differing methods, from the most mundane to the most out-of-the-box thinking. It did not take her long to learn how her students decided to foil her. They were playing a real-world version of the shell game. She learned to loathe her new student's method of informing her of her failure to capture them. Anko loved a good practical joke, as much as the next village outcast, but every time she moved to attack her students to capture them, and succeeded in killing her kids, that damn sulfurous stench showed her just how wrong she was. She began using more and more kunai and shuriken to take them out, which depleted her supply greatly, and going to retrieve them would have defeated the purpose of using the throwing weapons in the first place. Waiting around for the cloud to dissipate ate up precious seconds she needed to capture her kids, as she began calling them. There was no doubt they were going to pass the test, even if she caught them before time ran out, but she had her pride. She would be a buffoon among her friends, especially Hana, if she was outwitted by a bunch of genin. Even when she found the real kids, Naruto could substitute himself and his team with another clone team, no matter how far away they were. Anko could not even use her snakes to track them, since the sulfur hurt them too much when she brought them out. It was an education for Anko and a bit humbling. It showed she was starting to rely on her snakes far too much and made her start using other tracking methods that were just as effective. Finally, noon arrived, and she failed in capturing her kids, so she conceded defeat. Her shoulders slumped, and she bellowed out in a chakra-induced shout, "Alright, Keys, come on out into the open." Anko smirked, "Good, they're wary of a trap. You've passed my evasion test, congratulations, you're now true genin." Anko's kids came walking out of the underbrush, a couple of minutes later, walking cautiously. She grinned a genuinely warm smile. She suddenly felt like a big sister watching her younger siblings grow up. In celebration, I'm going to treat you all to dango, at Hidori's, the food of the gods. Naruto was offended, but many people often make that mistake, and it was up to the noodle disciples to educate the heathens. Excuse me, sensei, he began, eyes taking on a fanatical light. While I have sampled some of Hidori's fine cuisine, and found it delicious, I must humbly disagree. Anko looked dangerous. What? She gasped. How dare this upstart question her about the food of the gods? She was his sensei. How dare you, you little turd? I've lived on this good earth 19 years. I should know what the food of the gods truly tastes like. Naruto gasped at her questioning. Then you have obviously never eaten at the mecca of all things brothy, Ichiraku ramen, he shouted in his teacher's face. Anko stepped back, like a woman highly offended by a man's freshness, though if a man really did get fresh with her, without her permission, she would have his guts for garters. The newly minted Team 7 have been walking steadily toward their destination. Oh yes I have, run of the litter, Anko screams, like any other woman, if they were being faced with a grave insult, before returning to normal and adding, and I like ramen, just to keep a little variety in my life, but limp noodles are never a good substitute for nirvana on a stick. Naruto huffed, you wouldn't know good cuisine, if it jumped up and bit you on the tit. Naruto turned his head away, in disgust. Anko never batted an eye over the offensive to most women, term, and you wouldn't know it if it was blowing you, she fired back. All the time they were traveling, the villagers were looking at them with disgust in their faces. They were seeing the snake whore and the demon brat roam their streets, and both were extremely aware of it. Naruto and Anko had felt the hate-filled glares on their backs so many times in their life, they hardly even noticed it anymore. Meanwhile, the rest of Team 7, now Team Anko, were following behind their two teammates, with amused expressions at the fodder for this discussion. They did not notice the looks of the villagers, so consumed they were with watching their teammates get acquainted. Naruto continued, but took a different tack. There is another reason we might want to head to Ichiraku's open-air cafe, he said grimly. As opposed to Hidori's indoor restaurant, Anko-sensei, he replied, sniffing the air pointedly. When she heard that, Anko Mitarashi gritted her teeth and lowered her head. What did you say, Gaki? She asked in a dangerous, hissing voice. Did you really just comment to me about how I smell like rotten eggs, you little shit? She asked slowly, emphasizing every letter and syllable, ending in a crisp T. Sasuke and Sakura looked at each other, then made signs to ward off evil. Naruto's foot was so far down his throat he would need a podiatrist to extract it. Naruto either did not realize or care that he walked toward his doom. He said, bringing his hand up to cup his chin, like he was deep in thought. Did I just imply that you stink? He restated the question. Yes, I did, he answered with a mischievous grin. That was when Mount Anko erupted, and she put her foot so far up his ass that a proctologist would have his work cut out for him. After Anko's beatdown, Team 7 made it to Hidori's and ate steadily. Naruto really did like dango, he just preferred ramen, since the Ichirakus were the first people to look at him kindly and treated him like a favored cousin. Anko also knew that Naruto had just pushed her buttons, and that was something only her best friends were able to do. It was as if she found a kindred spirit in the blonde sacrifice. Everybody in the village above 12 years old knew about Naruto. Anko knew what he held, and she did not give a rat's ass. She knew the difference between a scroll and the kunai it held. Naruto finished his meal quickly, then stood. Excuse me, Anko-sensei, he asked, will you be here for the next few minutes? Sasuke and Sakura looked up curiously. It was an unusual question. Anko answered, dango is one of my vices, I tend to pig out when I come here. She also looked at him curiously, wondering if he was going to try pushing her buttons again. Good, I shouldn't be gone too long, he said, then turned to his other teammates. If you guys finish and leave before I get back, I'll see you tomorrow. They nodded and waved. Naruto stepped out of the restaurant, putting his wraparounds on, and walked quickly to the right. The three other members of Team 7 sat chatting and getting to know each other. 10 minutes later, a man with brown hair and wraparound shades like Naruto and a graying beard came into the restaurant, carrying a paper sack. The hostess approached him, but he pointed at their table, made his way over and sat down. Hey dude, that seat's taken, Sakura told him. He was confused for a minute, then made an O face as if something dawned on him. It's good to know you're looking out for me, Sakura-chan, the man said as he shifted into their blonde teammate. Anko scrutinized Naruto for a few seconds curiously. What kind of henge is that, Gaki? Naruto grinned and replied, it's called the Shin henge, or true transformation. It's the Uzumaki version of a henge, only instead of illusions that other transformations produce, these transformations are physical and somewhat biological. I can't reproduce in any form except my natural one, but when I change into a bird I can fly like one, although I have to practice and learn like a real bird. He used it today. All those replicas of us were Naruto's clones, Sakura informed Anko. He even hinged into me, almost perfectly. Anko gave Naruto a dirty look. Don't worry, sensei, he hasn't been peeping on girls. I checked, he had me in a regular bra, instead of a sports bra, and there were differences in shape and color, if you know what I mean. He also gave me an unintentional compliment. Naruto still took on a confused expression. What compliment? Anko nodded, accepting Sakura's explanation. Any way you could teach it to me? She asked, looking intently at her student. Her other students looked eager too. Sure, but you have to meet all of the following requirements, Naruto told them. Okay, she accepted. First, you need Jonin or Uzumaki level chakra reserves, then the patience to study and observe people and animals, Naruto informed them. Okay, that sounds doable, Anko agreed. The final requirement is non-negotiable, however, Naruto added solemnly. What's the final requirement? Sakura asked. You have to marry me, Naruto smiled, or already be an Uzumaki. Sasuke nearly choked on one of his dango sticks, and Sakura's face turned the same shade as her hair. Sorry Sasuke, I don't swing that way, Naruto chuckled. Sasuke chuckled right back. Somehow, I am not so keen to learn the Shinhenge anymore. Sakura just continued to blush and ducked her head. Anko met his eyes, without flinching, but changed the subject. What's in the sack, Naruto? She asked. After looking around, Naruto placed it on the table, then slid the sack over to his sensei, who looked inside and saw several cans of tomato juice. She looked up curiously, questioning the gift. It's for the smell of sulfur, sensei, she tensed, but he went on quickly. Before you say anything, it's not a dig. This stuff helped me wash off the stench of the sulfur from last night, while I was adding it to my substitution smoke. Oh, well, thanks, Anko blushes, but why buy it for me, when you can just tell me about it, and I can buy it? Because we're family, Naruto replied, while activating all 3 of his dojutsu, family without blood. Mission to Wave, Part 1. Uchiha Mikoto, Godame Hokage of Konohagaku no Sato, was reading progress reports for the most recent graduates from the Konoha Ninja Academy. Teams 1 through 6 had failed their genin tests with their Jonin sensei, and only teams 7, 8, and 10 had succeeded. It has been 3 months since this class graduated, and training with their Jonin sensei has progressed little by little. Team Itachi. Team 10 led by Uchiha Itachi, the Hokage's eldest son, made up of Yamanaka Ino, Naro Shikamaru, and Akamichi Choji, needed the most work. Ino's obsession with the Hokage's youngest son, Uchiha Sasuke, had to be broken. Itachi did that by telling her the Uchiha way of selecting their mates, especially for the clan's head family, and from outside the clan, only skilled and powerful ninja were even allowed to be selected. For example, Yuhi Kurenai was deemed worthy of betrothal to Uchiha Shisui, the nephew of the clan head, Uchiha Fugaku, and cousin of the Hokage, Uchiha Mikoto. Because Kurenai is a powerful genjutsu and taijutsu specialist. Only Mato Gai, sensei for Team 9, is a more skilled taijutsu warrior. Once Ino heard of these requirements, she buckled down on her training, and started to improve not only her basic skills, but her clan's mind jutsu, as well. Choji's progress was slow at first, but once Itachi forced him to reduce his junk food addiction, and change his eating habits to more healthy fare, his progress started to improve dramatically. The biggest issue with Team 10 was the Nara in their midst. Shikamaru was like all Nara males, a genius, considered gifted even by the Nara. Shikamaru was one of those minds that come along once in a century, and they usually change the course of history. However, as was typical of all male Nara, he was lazy, apathetic, and shiftless. He would sit under a tree for hours just watching the clouds, and the only thing he would move himself to do was to play shogi. Nevertheless, for the past 3 months since his graduation, Uchiha Itachi began changing Shikamaru. Itachi started by not giving the Nara a choice, and by threatening his life. It began the day after Team 10 truly became genin. They were all at Training Ground 10. Itachi ordered them to line up, which Ino and Choji complied, but Shikamaru remained lying on his back under a tree, cloud-gazing. This is when Itachi did something he had never done in his entire life, raising his voice to another human being. He also brought a shurnai, bamboo practice sword, used in kendo, with him and beat the ever-living daylights out of the boy. Shikamaru got the point very quickly that day. When his sensei told them to do something, it was not an option. He did it without delay or suffered the power of an S-ranked ninja. Itachi made Shikamaru fear him, even more than Shika's own mother. Mikoto's eldest son started making the entire team review everything they learned in the academy, and if the Nara slacked off, his entire team suffered for his lapse, with extra physical training exercises. Again, Shikamaru got the idea. If he lapsed into indolence on missions, it was not just he who would pay the price, but his entire team. Itachi really drove home that point, when one day after a deranked mission where he allowed his languor to cost them the mission, not to mention the pay, he made Shikamaru go to each individual family, and inform them that their ninja died on the mission. Both of his teammates were standing next to him, so the families knew it was just an exercise, so they played along and asked for details on how their children died. Itachi wanted to remind all his students of that same point, so he made the other two do the same for Shikamaru's family. All 3 of them forgot one person on their team, Itachi, and he punished them for it. He reminded them that he was as much a member of their team as each of them, and his life was in their hands, as well. Overall, Team 10 was coming together nicely, and Itachi was starting to weld them together into a real team. As much progress as they have made, Itachi has not yet advanced them to C-ranked missions. They have only just begun tree walking and have not yet thought of themselves as a team. Team Crimson. Such was not the case for the other 2 graduate teams. Team 8 led by Yuhi Kurenai, with Inuzuka Kiba, this graduating class's dead last, Aburame Shino, and 1/3 of the rookies of the year, Hyuga Hinata. Kiba was their biggest problem. Not only was he dead last, but seemed to have a chip on his shoulder about women. He seemed to believe that he was superior to women, simply because he was a man. He often went on and on about alpha male this, alpha male that. That attitude did not brook well with his sensei, and the other kunoichi on his team, nor his sister Hana, and Mother Tsum, and the former two tried breaking him of this mindset in the past. Kurenai took steps to knock that chip off his shoulder for good, and being great friends, even roommates with Team 7's sensei, proposed a joint training exercise with Team 7, which involved the taijutsu only, no chakra or weapons usage allowed, but anything else goes melee battle, between members of both teams. Kiba was bewildered when Sasuke and Naruto double-teamed the Hyuga heir. Then thinking about scoring an easy knockout attack Sakura. In the academy, Sakura was the second best kunoichi fighter, after Hinata, and she has been improving that skill set for the previous month. Sakura barely noticed Kiba as she knocked him out with ease, and went after Shino. This was a taijutsu-only battle, so Shino could not use his bugs, and had to rely on his family style, 21 strikes of the mantis. Abure mantis-style taijutsu is a formidable style, with a near, impenetrable defense and fast, precise footwork, but after a month of sparring with the two rookies of the year, Sakura's taijutsu was better. Naruto was the second best in taijutsu in the entire class, and he, Sasuke, and their sensei taught her a lot in the month since they graduated, and she used what she's learned, not to overwhelm Shino's defenses but to harmonize with it, which allowed her to anticipate the bug user's footwork, and outmaneuver him, and strike as fast as a viper's tongue flicks, into nerve endings and pressure points. Once Shino was disoriented, Sakura flipped him on his back, and then kicked him in his head, knocking him out. Naruto and Sasuke had their hands full. There was a reason Hinata got a 100 on the taijutsu in the part of the graduating exam. They had sparred with her before, even earlier today before meeting their teams, so they knew how strong she was, and it would take both boys to subdue her. They knew her weaknesses, and she knew theirs. They had been best friends since they were 5 when Sasuke and Naruto saved her from abduction by ninja from Kumogakure. That was where they learned about Naruto's chain's ability to prevent access to chakra. It was also when Hinata changed from a shy, mousy little girl and gained determination to be the best ninja she could be. Hinata got into her ready stance, and with a devious grin said, "You are within range of my divination, my brothers," she said in her deceptively gentle voice. Naruto and Sasuke stood arrayed against their sister in all but blood. They were in their ready stances, either were moving as the boys eyed the girl in front of them. Naruto charged in first, pivoting on one leg, and bringing the back leg up and around, aiming his shin at her side. Hinata brought her arm up and parried Naruto's leg but allowed the force of the kick to push her out of the pocket in which she found herself. Just in time for her to dodge, a clothesline from Sasuke, and circle round him, palm blocking his arm to deliver a nerve strike to the humorous. But he pitches forward before the blow arrives. That's when Naruto appears behind her, and sweeps her legs out from under her, which causes her to somersault with her fall, regaining her feet. That's when Sasuke's lightning-fast speed kicks in because he seemed to materialize out of nowhere and chopped Hinata's neck, which knocked her off balance. Then he was gone, and Naruto was in his place, grabbing her and pulling her further off balance, and into his elbow, making her clutch her throat. Then Naruto and Sasuke grabbed her by the back of the head and shoved her face first into the ground. Their combined attack knocked her out, securing victory for Team 7. After the fight, Kiba woke up, confused and disgraced. He criticized Sasuke and Naruto for attacking the girl. Both Team 7 males did not understand what Kiba's problem was. In their minds they went after the person they felt was the most dangerous to them and their team, and said as much to the Inuzuka. That's when Kiba went into his diatribe about male superiority and being an alpha male. Sasuke and Naruto laughed their asses off at the very idea that being male automatically made them superior to females. "Dude, what gender is the Hokage?" Sasuke asked Kiba. "She's called the Devil of the Leaf for a reason. Her katanjutsu are considered a fate worse than death by her opponents, the few that are still alive. You don't think there were quite a few men wanting the job of Hokage? My own father was up for the position, and nobody believes Uchiha Fugaku is weak." Sasuke points his thumb at Naruto. Naruto's own mother was considered one of the most powerful ninjas in Hai no Kuni, Fire Nation, and she would have been named Hokage over Naruto's dad if she had been born in the village. "Your notion of a so-called alpha male mentality is bullshit," Naruto spoke up then too. "I've been studying animals for a long time to perfect my family's Henji no Jutsu. Of all the species I've studied from fish to mammal, of every single one of them it's the female who chooses her mate." Kiba's eyes widened as he spluttered in disbelief. "Oh, the males do fight over the females, that's true, but that's only so the female will know who the strongest male is, so she can make her choice. I could go on and on about the differences between a peacock and a peahen, black widow spider females versus her male counterparts' size, how most of the time male praying mantises stake their life just to mate. The point is your alpha male ideology is flawed. In wolf packs which you Inuzuka pattern your clan structure after, there are usually 2 alpha males who are usually the best hunters and are meant to protect the pack, but only one mother wolf, who is the leader of the pack." Sasuke spoke up again. "When Naruto and I double-teamed Hinata, we did that because she is the strongest taijutsu fighter between us," he informed his misguided male counterpart. "She is the only one in our class to receive a 100 in the taijutsu portion of the graduation exam. If you remember, you barely passed." Kiba's eyes could not get any wider, according to the female sensei of Teams 7 and 8, and lest we forget the one woman on Team 7, who wiped the floor with you, and then Shino without our help, Sasuke supplied to make his point, while me and Naruto had our hands full taking down one woman. We won through numbers and teamwork, not because Hinata is a woman. That kind of throws your notion of male superiority into the rubbish bin, does it not, Kiba? The Hokage smiles. I remember that day. When Sasuke came home, his face was covered in 4 different shades of lipstick, and he was blushing up a storm. He wouldn't tell me how it happened. I was mom then, not his Hokage. I had to get the story from Kurenai and verify it with Enko. After the boy's words, Kiba ran off to sulk and reevaluate his beliefs, and Shino went home to practice his taijutsu. Naruto and Sasuke were about to leave as well when they were surrounded by the 4 kunoichi. They looked wary, like they were under attack by a force deadlier than a kunai. The 4 women advanced on the 2 doomed boys, who went back to back and into defensive postures. The 2 jonin moved through their defenses swiftly and efficiently, and claimed their victories. The 2 genin were right behind the older women and claimed similar victories upon their opponents. The 4 young women spent a good half hour with the 2 young men, and when it was over, Naruto and Sasuke were a mess. Their noses were bloody, and their lips and cheeks were red, from the female ninja's assaults, swollen from the repeated contact with the lips of the women. When the women were done kissing the 2 boys into submission, Naruto and Sasuke were catatonic with overstimulation. Afterwards, Kiba was more subdued and less vocal about his beliefs, and once he accepted that he was wrong about many things, he began to focus on what matters most to a ninja: training. They began to grow quite well together. All 3 were growing rapidly, and had mastered tree walking. Their sensei was about to start them on water walking soon, and believed they were ready for C-ranked missions. Team Viper. Team 7, however, seemed to be the most advanced of the recent graduates, and they had very few disagreements. The only such arguments were over what Naruto and his sensei considered to be the food of the gods. Yet their arguments were a form of bonding for the 2 outcasts of Konoha, a way to take measure of the other. Naruto had informed his team about the 2 dojutsu and his chains. He even informed them of his Jinchuriki status, and why he was an orphan. Naruto only told Enko, however, about his parents being alive in his mindscape, at first, who got confirmation from the Hokage and Tsunade when she confronted them. After the 2nd month, especially after what happened with Sakura, he told them too. The Hokage saw the advancement of Sasuke's skills herself when he practiced at home, therefore she knew his progress without having to read reports. His training in the Uchiha Interceptor Fist was succeeding well above average. One day he would even exceed his brother's strength. He was also training using Juddy, Tonfa, and Sai. His weapon of choice was the Sai. It makes sense, with his nature affinity. Lightning, Shursui helps him as much as he can with that, having learnt lightning manipulation from his senpai in his ANBU days. His Sharingan has not yet manifested, but that's not to worry. It requires intense stress and emotion to awaken, and he has not yet been in those kinds of situations. Mine did not manifest until my first Chunin exam, and Itachi grew up during the 3rd Great Ninja War. Stress and fear were rampant in those days, which is why he manifested his Sharingan at such an early age. Sasuke is fast enough to casually catch a kunai out of midair, and then throw it right back